Part 47. First Marriage Then Love, Mr. Mayor Please Be Kind. Author, Zhao Nuan. Chapter 482. Zhou Mikang turned and left, and Chu Xia quickly followed. Wang Jing, watch carefully, I'll be back in a while, Song Xiao confessed, and quickly chased her out. Wang Jing shrugged her shoulders. It seems that it is better not to get married, there are too many things and troubles. Just at this moment, her sister-in-law Wang Lei came and saw that she was the only one sitting there, and asked suspiciously, "Why is it just you? Where are Director Song and Lin Chuxia?" Feeling narrow-minded, Wang Jing made a bitter face on purpose. "Sister-in-law, I just listened to you, and I have to give in to everything, but now the teacher only takes Lin Chuxia and doesn't take me during the surgery." Dazed for a moment, Wang Lei frowned. "Song Xiao shouldn't be such a person. Xiao Jing, have you really apologized? Are you serious?" Of course, Wang Jing nodded her head vigorously. "I'm serious. Do you want me to recreate the original image for you to identify?" Wang Lei waved her hand. "Forget it, sister-in-law trusts you, but I guess Song Xiao is testing you by letting you go like this. You have to stand up to me and don't lose the chain again." "Okay," Wang Jing responded with a smile. "Sister-in-law, I'm teasing you." The teacher just went out. "By the way, why are you here at this time? Could it be that you don't trust me? I was going to post something at the post office, and I happened to pass by here, so I came to see you, and I gave this to Teacher Song." Wang Lei raised the red silk bag in her hand. "Your Teacher Song's daughter loves the bean buns made by me the most." This is clearly intentional, otherwise, who would carry a bag of bean buns when sending things? Wang Jing looked at Wang Lei amusedly. "Sister-in-law, you don't even draft drafts when you lie. And, sister-in-law, have you noticed the change in your address just now?" "What change?" "When you first came in, you called the teacher Teacher Song. I heard that she hung me up. Quickly changed it to Song Xiao. When I told you you were joking, you changed it back to Teacher Song." Wang Jing said, stepped forward and took Wang Lei's arm. "Sister-in-law, this discovery makes me very happy. It shows that my sister-in-law attaches great importance to me." "Did I do that?" Wang Lei scratched her head and smiled embarrassedly. "I really didn't notice it myself, by the way. Don't tell Teacher Song about this, or she will be angry with me and dislike me. I don't trust her." "I'm not stupid." After hesitating, Wang Jing said, "Sister, Wang Feng is here." "Why is she here?" Wang Lei frowned. "Who's sick?" "Her eldest sister." "What happened?" "I have a tumor in my stomach, and I will be operated on tomorrow. Teacher Song will be the chief surgeon, and I will be the first assistant." Wang Jing said with a sigh. "I really don't want to see her. Can my sister find a way to get her away?" "You want to embarrass me?" Wang Lei gave her a white look. "It's rare that she's a bit human, so let her serve you. If you don't like to look at her, then don't go there. If she dares to make trouble with you, you don't have to talk to her. You're in a hurry. If you beat her, sister-in-law will take care of you." "Sister-in-law, just give me some advice," Wang Jing said with a funny face. "I'm a medical staff. If I really beat her up, but I have to record it, how can my sister-in-law help me?" "That's right, how did I forget about it?" At this time, Song Xiao came back and saw her old classmate with a happy face. "Wang Lei, are you here?" "Yeah, I'm here to give you this, and thank you for always caring about Xiaojing," Wang Lei said and handed her the silk bag. "This time the bag is very delicious, you must like it." "Then I won't be polite." Song Xiao happily took the silk bag, and took out 2 bottles of malted milk from the cabinet. "Here's for you, you see you're skinny, you need to make up for it." "I didn't come here to covet your preference, I don't want it." Wang Lei stretched her hands behind her and hid. "If you do this again, I won't make it for you in the future. By the way, my niece is here to accompany the bed, I will go over have a look." After the words were finished, the person had disappeared outside the door. Song Xiao shook her head amusedly, put the wheat milk concentrate in a silk bag and handed it to Wang Jing. Take it back to your sister-in-law. Teacher. Wang Jing hesitated. You've been with me for so long, you should know my personality. Besides, this is originally for her. I brought it here after I called last time. Wang Jing laughed embarrassedly. Obviously, the teacher knew my sister-in-law better than she did, so she never thought that my sister-in-law would definitely come. Zhou Jingping finally woke up from a series of nightmares. He sat up sweating profusely, and saw Chu Xia was wiping his hands with a hot towel, blushing. I'll do it myself. Dad, are you dizzy? Chu Xia asked. It's okay. Zhou Jingping just felt so ashamed. How could he feel dizzy? Zhou Mikang has something urgent to leave first. He asked me to talk to Dad, Chu Xia said again. Okay, I'll go back right away. No, Chu Xia stared at him seriously. Dad, what I said may be presumptuous, but the starting point is for Dad's health. If there is anything that is not in place, please forgive me. Zhou Jingping nodded. Okay, tell me. Since little sister left, does Dad always have nightmares? Zhou Jingping's flushed face turned pale little by little. Obviously, he didn't realize that this was what his daughter-in-law would ask, and without mental preparation, he didn't know how to respond. Dad, why don't you tell everyone what's in your heart? If you keep holding back like this, your body will go wrong sooner or later. Chu Xia sighed. Professor Yuan gave you an examination. He said that you have a tendency to be mildly depressed, and the root cause of this is that you have not had a good rest for a long time. Hey, Zhou Jingping sighed heavily and smiled wryly. It's much better now. I used to have nightmares all night long. Now, I only occasionally dream about Rao Rao being kidnapped. Chu Xia, don't tell your mother. And your grandma, don't tell Xiaomi, lest they worry about it. Dad, you should have told Zhou Mikang that after all these years, this is a knot between you and him. His pain is superficial, but you have been suppressing yourself in your heart. You may think that doing this is to protect your loved ones, but I don't think so. What do I think a loved one is? It means sharing joys and sorrows, whether you are happy or not, and what you can and cannot say with others, you can tell your loved ones. Maybe when you say it, your relatives will be sad together, but it will make the relationship between the two parties more enhanced, and you will have a clearer perception of the flesh and blood relationship between you and you. If you had let your family know about this a long time ago, Zhou Mikang would not have hated you for so many years, nor would it be now that you let go of the surface and the knot in your heart has not yet been resolved. Dad, if what I said is wrong and wronged you, don't be angry with me. I really think so. If I don't say it and don't do my part, I feel uncomfortable. Good boy, you are doing it for Dad's sake. How can Dad be angry? Zhou Jingping smiled at her when his mood had calmed down. Let Dad think about it, okay? Chu Xia smiled and nodded. Okay, Dad, sometimes, it's also a kind of closeness to relatives. You know a lot at such a young age. Zhou Jingping smiled and shook his head. It seems that I really can't treat you like a child. Really? Chu Xia smiled dejectedly. Dad also thinks I'm mature and sensible, doesn't he? Zhou Jingping couldn't help laughing. He really didn't know what to say. Dad, your body is fine, but you need to recuperate. Western medicine is more harmful to your body. Professor Yuan went to see Mr. Ma from the Department of Chinese Medicine. He said that when you wake up, let me accompany you there. Otherwise, let's go now. Okay. Zhou Jingping didn't refuse anymore. He responded happily, and got out of bed. Chu Xia was shocked and supported him. Dad, this is not a war, can you slow down? Did you feel dizzy just now? Do you feel like vomiting? No, no, Zhou Jingping smiled and waved his hands. Dad is not that delicate, let's go. When the father and father were going out, they happened to meet a man and a woman walking over. Seeing Chu Xia wearing a white coat, The man smiled and asked, "Comrade, how can I get to the surgery?" "Turn left in front." Looking at the two of them, Chusia asked suspiciously, "Where is the injury?" "I was walking, and a comrade hit me with a bike. I had a headache at the time, but now it's okay." I said it's okay. He insisted on taking a look. I was still in a hurry to buy vegetables. The woman said as she wiped her nose with a handkerchief. Noticing her movement, Chusia's pupils shrank sharply, and then looked at Zhou Jingping. "Dad, you go to the Chinese medicine department by yourself, and I will send this comrade to Jingzhe, and I will go to find you later, okay?" "Okay, you go." Zhou Jingping looked at a man and a woman with some doubts. It seemed that nothing was wrong. "Come up and lie down, hurry up." Chusia dragged an operating bed next to him and let the woman go up. "Little comrade, what are you doing?" The woman's face turned pale. "Even if it's a hospital, you can't curse people like this. It's not like I'm seriously ill. How annoying are you to ask me to come here? It's almost New Year's Eve now, how can you do things like this?" The woman turned and walked out. "I'm fine, I don't need to check, I have to go shopping quickly." "Hold her." Chusia looked at the man. "What are you still doing? Hold her quickly." "Ah." The man was stunned for a moment, then turned around and grabbed the woman. "Kiazu, this doctor is in such a hurry, it's for our own good, don't worry about going after checking and checking. Are you looking forward to my early death? It's almost Chinese New Year, and you have to go to the hospital to feel comfortable." The woman was so angry that she snapped the man's fingers. "I said no need to be checked. I know my own body, otherwise, I will not let the person who hit me go away." The man looked at Chusia hesitantly, not knowing what to do. He just heard his wife said he had a headache and was afraid of accidents, so he must have dragged his wife in, but seeing how energetic his wife is now, she should be fine, right? First marriage then love. Mr. Mayor, please be kind. Author, Zhao Nuan. Chapter 483. After chasing to the hospital gate, I didn't see the middle-aged couple. Chusia sighed weakly. Why don't they listen to me? The examination doesn't cost much, does it? The Chinese New Year is approaching, and some people pay more attention to it. Jingzhe patted Chusia on the shoulder comfortingly. As a doctor, you have done your best, and that's just a possibility, and another possibility is that it's too cold. When you are frightened, you will also have the symptoms of flow calculation. I don't want what I said to be true. Chusia looked at Jingzhe with a wry smile. Brother, do you also think that I'm a bit of an underdog? No. Jingzhe looked at Chusia seriously. I don't feel that you are a stalker at all, but I admire your courage and self-confidence. For a doctor, being careful is very important, but courage is also important. Sounds contradictory, but in fact, to truly become a great doctor, one must have such qualities. Not to mention novice doctors, even many doctors who have been in medicine for many years dare not draw conclusions on certain symptoms easily. Of course, in normal diagnosis and treatment, it is wrong to draw conclusions without proof, but in a situation like today, it is necessary. No matter what their situation is, at the very least, the examination can eliminate 1/2 of the possibility of death. It is only a waste of half an hour, but it can ensure the relative safety of life. This is a truly responsible doctor. In early summer, I saw the right person. I used to think that I saw the right person. After what happened today, I feel that I didn't see the wrong person. I believe that as long as you work hard, you will achieve success in the future. Absolutely unlimited. Chusia smiled embarrassedly. Brother, the people you praised are too embarrassed. I'm telling the truth. The sensitivity of your hand is much better than that of ordinary doctors. Let's put it this way. Everyone says that my hand sensitivity is relatively high, but compared with yours, it's absolutely nothing. Good talent, coupled with being kind-hearted, courageous, and responsible, What I said just now is absolutely not exaggerated. After Jingzhe finished speaking, Chu Xia smiled and said, "Brother, I didn't finish talking just now. What I mean is, although you are embarrassed to praise others, I have no objection to your complimenting a few more words. Otherwise, can you praise me a few more? I haven't heard enough." Jingzhe: "Sister, can we stop playing with people like this?" "Hey," looking around again, Chu Xia sighed heavily. Looking at Jingzhe: "Brother, go back, it seems. They will not come back, I hope." "They are another situation," that brother said. Jingzhe is a doctor. He is also an extremely experienced doctor, and it is not one or two who have taken over this kind of patients. Of course I know how much comfort I said just now. But the patients themselves do not cooperate. Any idea? It is cruel to say that life and death are fate, but it is like this for some people. They can live, but because of ignorance, they push themselves to the brink of death. Who is to blame? Brother, I know that I may be acting emotionally, but for a prospective doctor who can't see a doctor, I will try my best to prove that I am a doctor and have a little use. I think it's a life, and I found out, so I can't let him lose it." Chu Xia drooped his head listlessly. "I'm really in a bad mood, brother, please praise me a little more." Jingzhe: "How about some words of comfort?" Being stared at by Chu Xia's pitiful big eyes, Jingzhe suddenly felt very guilty. Either the doctor had been working for too long, or he had encountered such a person and such things too much. It's a pity, but in fact, is there really no regret? In other words, if all the doctors were like Chu Xia, the patient just now would definitely not leave the doctor just like that. If one person said it, they might not believe it. If two people said it, they might hesitate, but if three people said it? What if more? If it is really a cerebral infarction, an experienced doctor can tell. Although the patient looks similar to a normal person except for a runny nose, his complexion is absolutely different. He believed that when the couple came over just now, they definitely didn't just ask Chu Xia for directions. But why only Chu Xia noticed it? By the way, my father-in-law has gone to the Chinese medicine department. I'll go and have a look, Chu Xia said and waved at Jingzhe. "Brother, goodbye." "Wait." Jingzhe called to stop her. "What's wrong with Uncle Joe?" "It's nothing serious, it's just that the pressure is a bit high and needs to be adjusted." Chu Xia sighed. "Joe Mikang took Dad to see Rao Rao today." "Go." Jingzhe waved his hand. "Uncle Joe needs to adjust and adjust. This burden has been carried for so many years, it's time to let go." "Chu Xia, please persuade him more. These years, Uncle Joe is actually more tired than anyone else." "I know, I told Joe Mikang the same way." Chu Xia waved his paw again, but before he left, he saw the man who missed the appointment at that time running over with the woman in his arms, sweating profusely, and saw from a distance she opened her mouth hard, but couldn't speak at all. "I'm going to push the cart." Seeing Chu Xia running away, the man became anxious, and finally shouted, Don't go. Doctor! Help! Help!" Almost every sentence was shouted out. At this time, Jingzhe greeted him, nodded at him, and ordered, "Give it to me." The man who was exhausted couldn't care less about being polite. When Jingzhe stretched out his hand, his arm went limp, and he sat down on the ground, sweating profusely. After Jingzhe ran a few steps, Chu Xia greeted him with a cart. The woman's nose had begun to bleed and she was quickly wheeled into the operating room. The chief surgeon was Jingzhe, and both Guo Guo and Wu Jingbo followed into the operating room. Ever since the man saw Chu Xia, he was determined not to let her leave. Whenever she moved, he would run to her and kneel down. He even asked her to go into the operating room to save his wife. After Chu Xia repeatedly stated that she was a doctor-to-be who was still in the internship period and had never been on the operating table, the man finally believed him, but he still refused to let her leave. There was no other way, Chu Xia had no choice but to wait outside with him. The man's eyes didn't have focus, he just stared closely at the light in the operating room, but he was born, as long as Chu Xia moved, he would quickly rush to her side. It felt like a child who wouldn't let his parents leave. I was still thinking about my father-in-law's illness, so don't mention Chu Xia's helplessness. Fortunately, Zhou Jingping, who got the news, came over and told her that he was fine. Mr. Ma had already prescribed medicine for him, and he just needed to take it for a while to recuperate, should be no big problem. Looking at the man who was waiting blankly outside the operating room, Zhou Jingping sighed secretly, and really felt that his daughter-in-law would be a qualified doctor. He had heard many doctors and nurses talking about it during the trip just now. In fact, this is a good thing and a bad thing. The good thing is that everyone is beginning to realize Chu Xia's ability. The bad thing is that he will become the target of many jealous people from now on. The operation was very successful, but how the patient recovers after waking up depends on luck. Doctor. After the woman pushed into the intensive care unit, the man asked Jing Zhe with trembling lips, "If we listen to Dr. Xiaolin's immediate examination, will my wife not have any problems?" After thinking about it, Jing Zhe said, "It's not absolute, but one thing is certain, that is, the possibility of the patient recovering completely is 90% higher than it is now." The man slapped his head hard in regret, and the veins on his forehead popped up. Chu Xia sighed and persuaded him, "Uncle, what you have to do now is to take good care of Auntie, not to hurt yourself and be with Auntie." Yes, Dr. Xiaolin, I'll listen to you, I will definitely listen to you." The man quickly stopped his hands and expressed his opinion to Chu Xia, "Dr. Xiaolin, I will do whatever you ask me to do from now on." "Uncle, you should do whatever Director Jing asks you to do. In this regard, he is an expert. I am just an expert in words. You can't pin your hopes on me. I listen to Director Jing." "That's right. However, I listen to Dr. Lin more. Chu Xia has a black line, how can you still speak and breathe at this time?" The corner of Wu Jingbo's mouth twitched and she gave Chu Xia a thumbs up. In this matter, she really admires Chu Xia. Even if she is a descendant of a family of Chinese medicine, she can't see it as accurately as Chu Xia. If it wasn't for Jing Zhe's own words, if it wasn't for the man's current behavior, she would have thought it was just a rumor. Not to mention the results, he has been with Jing Zhe for so long, he asked himself, if this happened to him, he would definitely not be able to see it, nor would he think about it in that way. In short, on this day, the most famous doctor in number 401 hospital was Chu Xia. The rumors were spread one after another, and the last rumor turned out to be that the student Lin Chuxia was extremely talented, and she could see the symptoms of cerebral hemorrhage patients just by looking at her. That helplessness in early summer, now, she can be regarded as being pushed to the forefront. She doesn't like such a position, she doesn't want it. When I got home at night, the Zhou family was both happy and worried. However, everyone is more happy than worried. Even if they stand on the cusp of the storm, even if they will be envied by others, but with supervision and hard work, I believe Chu Xia will grow faster. This set of rhetoric made Chu Shui completely powerless. After returning to her room, she threw herself on the bed and couldn't get up. When Zhou Mikang entered the room and saw someone with his butt pouted upwards, he laughed, "Why, there are times when you are praised so much that you don't have the face to face others. People with such a thick skin actually have times when they are shy. Is it me? Got it wrong." "Yeah, you got it wrong." Chu Xia's muffled voice came over, "What makes me unhappy now is that from now on, I will be supervised by everyone. It's hard to be a good person." "Then can you still be a good person in the future?" Zhou Mikang sat on the edge of the bed and slapped her buttocks. It felt so good that he couldn't help but slap her again. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. First Marriage Then Love, Mr. Mayor Please Be Kind. Author, Zhao Nuan. Chapter 484. A certain person was so unconscious that he used his hands on his buttocks one after another. Chu Xia sat up with an awe and said, "Zhou Mikang, get down on the ground. Hurry up." The group leader's Heisa didn't say a word, just pushed her down, and lay on her body by the way. Chu Xia flushed anxiously, "What are you doing? Are you shameless?" I didn't ask you to lie on top of me, I asked you to lie on the bed, Zhou Mikang, you can't be so shameless." "Why am I shameless?" Zhou Mikang smiled and pecked her lips. "What you meant just now clearly asked me to do this, and I did exactly what you said. How can you say that I am shameless?" "You." Chu Xia rolled his eyes and changed the subject. "I talked with Dad today, do you want to hear what we talked about?" "It's about Dad's body." "You." Zhou Mikang nodded her nose helplessly, and rolled down from her. "There are a series of bad intentions, you know that I can't do anything when you say that, Chu Xia, be kind son." "Cut," Chu Xia slapped him on the buttocks, "save your trick and tell others. It's useless here. Let me get back what you owe me first." "Papa." Someone seemed to be addicted to it, and someone seemed to be addicted to it. For a while, there was no other sound in the room except the slapping sound of hands hitting the buttocks. Having had enough of the addiction, Chu Xia breathed a sigh of satisfaction. "Do you really think I'm easy to bully? Let me tell you, I've never been good at taking losses, making cheap is my forte. This is also my strong point." Zhou Mikang turned over and quickly pressed on Chu Xia. "You can't just enjoy yourself, I have to enjoy it too. Little thing, it seems that I still can't clean up you enough. You are too brave." An hour and a half later, amidst Chu Xia's begging for mercy, the head of the regiment, Tongzi, finally retreated, and slapped her on the buttocks. "Do you dare to make a big mistake with a small one in the future? Don't dare. A good man, oh no, a good woman doesn't suffer from the immediate disadvantages." At this time, Chu Xia is nestled in the quilt, as soft as a cat, with that soft little voice. Hearing the head of the group, Tongzi's heart was throbbing, and his body reacted naturally. Chu Xia was so frightened that his 3 souls lost 2.5 souls, and hurriedly begged for mercy. I was wrong, I don't dare anymore, I will always listen to yours, don't. Zhou Mikang interrupted her. "Funny, why are you still stuttering?" Without waiting for Chu Xia to say anything, he turned and went to the bathroom. "Not for a while." The sound of flushing water came. "It's okay." Chu Xia let out a long sigh of relief, but he was scared to death. Fortunately, the group leader Tongzi still has a conscience. "I still know how to pity the fragrance and cherish the jade." When Zhou Mikang came out of the cold shower, Chu Xia had already fallen asleep, knowing that his Meng Lang had really frightened her. I was also tired of her, so I felt a little guilty. Knowing that she likes to be clean, she brought a basin of hot water over. "Help her scrub carefully." When waking up in the morning, Chu Xia asked Zhou Mikang, "When are you going to be on a mission?" "Why, expect me to leave quickly." Zhou Mikang, who had already returned from morning exercise, looked her up and down. "Are you hoping that I will leave and never come back?" No, Chu Xia shook her head again and again. "I don't mean that, you think too much, I just care about you and want to help you pack your luggage in advance." "Do you think I'll believe it?" Zhou Mikang snorted. "You think I'm a fool? Don't dare." Chu Xia smiled flatteringly. "If you are stupid, then there will be no smart people in this world. I really care about you. Let's go and eat. Are you hungry?" Boom. Before the two of them went down, the door knocked, and Ying Er's voice came. "Third uncle, third aunt, can you send me to Yahung class today?" If she didn't know Ying Er's mission, Chu Xia would definitely respond immediately, but now, her mood is different, and her sympathy for the little girl disappeared. However, she didn't want her to return to her previous appearance, so she rushed Zhou Mikang, winked and told him to dismiss the little girl. Zhou Mikang opened the door expressionlessly, and said, "Third uncle and third aunt have something to do, so they can't go see you off. Let Aunt Xiaojing take you to Yuheng class." "Auntie, do you not like Ying'er anymore?" The little girl had tears in her eyes. "Auntie has been unwilling to talk to Ying'er these 2 days. What did Ying'er do wrong, little aunt, can you tell me?" "No, you did nothing wrong. My aunt is really too busy." Chu Xia walked to the door and forced a smile. "When my aunt is busy for a while, I will send you to school, okay? Little aunt, you have to keep your word." "Good." "Pull your finger." "Good." "Stamp it." After hesitating for a moment, Chu Xia satisfied the little girl's request. After Ying'er left, Chu Xia sighed heavily, and looked at Zhou Mikang helplessly on the sofa. "You shouldn't have told me, I can't pretend." "You." Zhou Mikang squatted in front of her and looked directly into her eyes. "It's all over, you can adjust it slowly. Ying'er is still a child, she has basically turned her heart to you now here. If you try harder, then even if Zhou Yiping comes back in the future, even if Lu Lingmei provokes her again, she may not listen to her. Is it reasonable? Why tell me the truth? I'd rather know nothing." Thinking about it now, Chu Xia was afraid. When Ying'er came to Zhou's house, she once spilled a small bottle of water all over her body. She remembered the situation clearly, that is, when her mother-in-law and the old lady were not around. When Ying'er passed by her, she suddenly poured a small bottle of water on her, and then ran away. When eating later, Ying'er seemed a little surprised when she saw her. At that time, she only thought that this was a child's prank, but she never thought that Lu Lingmei secretly gave her the bottle of water, and Lu Sui also knew it, but acquiesced to Lu Lingmei's actions. The bottle was originally filled with concentrated sulfuric acid. If Jiang Kema hadn't found out and hadn't changed the bottle for Ying'er in advance, then she should be covered with burn scars now. Of course, Lu Lingmei's goal should be to make her face look ugly, but Ying'er is too small, and she didn't get wet on her face when she danced high. However, even the scars all over her body were enough for her. What kind of hatred does she have with her? She actually let an ignorant child do such vicious things. Does she really think that Ying'er is her granddaughter? "We're going to see Ying'er off today." Chu Xia looked at Zhou Mikang and said solemnly. "Have you figured it out?" "Think it over." Chu Xia nodded vigorously. "It's not the child's fault. The adults taught the child's mistakes. I don't need to be smart after the fact. What I have to do is to settle the score afterwards." "Okay." Zhou Mikang nodded. "I support you." "Does third uncle know about this?" Chu Xia asked. "I don't know." Zhou Mikang sighed. "Third uncle's psychological pressure is too heavy. I really don't want to put another burden on him, but he will know about it sooner or later, but I still hope that he can find out through others." "Mouth knows about it?" "Understood." Chu Xia nodded and stood up. "Let's go, send Ying'er to Yuheng class after dinner." Zhou Mikang smiled and patted her on the back. "Remember, no matter what time you make, I will support you." "Why?" Chu Xia looked up at him. "If I make a wrong decision, will you still support me?" "Yes, who asked me to marry you?" Zhou Mikang waved his hand like chasing flies. "It's useless to regret now. A husband must have the self-consciousness and responsibility of being a husband." "Well, what you said makes sense." Chu Xia smiled with eyebrows and eyes crooked, and put her hand on his arm. "Xiao Mimi, let's drive." "Zhou Mikang. Is there anyone who puts their nose on their face like this?" "Ying'er, my aunt asked you something." On the way, Chu Xia asked Ying'er seemingly unintentionally, "You have to answer my aunt honestly, okay?" "Okay." Ying'er stared at Chu Xia happily with her small face up. "Ying'er promises that, whatever my aunt asks, Ying'er will answer the question and never lie." When Ying'er first arrived, she was drenched in water all over her little ant. Ying'er, do you know what kind of water is in that bottle? What and water? Ying'er shrank timidly. Little ant, do you know everything? It's one thing for my aunt to know, but it's another for Ying'er to tell her the truth. I wonder if Ying'er wants to be friends with my aunt. Ying'er blinked her big eyes. Did you tell my aunt that Ying'er and my aunt are friends? Chu Xia nodded affirmatively, yes. Biting her lip, and then taking a look at Zhou Mikang, Ying'er finally made up her mind. The water in that bottle was given to Ying'er by Grandma. Grandma said that Ying'er's parents were killed by her little ant. Hate little ant. Then, the grandma gave the bottle of water to Ying'er, saying that as long as the bottle of water was spilled on the little ant, the parents would come back to find Ying'er, but Ying'er did so, and the parents did not come to find Ying'er either. Son. Did Grandma tell you what the water is for? She said that if the water was spilled on my little ant, especially her face, she would become very ugly, and then my uncle would not want my little ant anymore. As long as my little ant leaves, my parents will come back. Little ant, I was wrong, don't be angry with me, okay? Ying'er is closest to her little ant, and Ying'er knows that she is the best to Ying'er. Chu Xia looked at Ying'er with a complicated expression. Wouldn't it be too scary for a 5-year-old child to pretend to be so realistic? She cast her inquiring eyes on Zhou Mikang. She was really bitten by a snake once, and she was afraid of well ropes for 10 years. First marriage then love. Mr. Mayor, please be kind. Author, Zhao Nuan. Chapter 485. Auntie, do you really dislike Ying'er? Being stared at pitifully by the little girl, Chu Xia sighed quietly. That's all. If a 5-year-old child's acting skills are so proficient, she would admit it, but she still has to say what needs to be beaten. Ying'er, from now on, whether it's your grandma, or your mother, when you throw things on your little ant or bully your little ant, what do you do? The little girl thought for a while, then looked at Chu Xia firmly. I will tell my aunt. Why? Little ant takes me to school, gives me delicious food, doesn't scold me, and even teaches me to sing. Counting one by one, they are all things that are too common for Chu Xia. If the sincerity and seriousness on the child's face are deceiving her, she will really admit it. How boring would it be if a person lived in doubt all the time? She hugged Ying'er and kissed her little cheek. Okay, little ant knows that Ying'er really likes little ant. Needless to say, from now on, little ant will watch Ying'er's actions. Okay. Little ant isn't angry with Ying'er anymore. The little girl's big eyes were twinkling. Her happiness was beyond words. Little ant will still send Ying'er to school, right? Okay, Chu Xia nodded, and said amusedly, why do you like little ant to send you to school so much? Quickly glanced at Zhou Mikang, and the little girl whispered in Chu Xia's ear, my little ant looks good, and my classmates are envious of her. Teacher Ma also asked me what my little ant does. I can see that he likes my little ant very much. Ant. Zhou Mikang glared at her intentionally. You still have to keep your uncle behind your back when you say something in a whisper? Huh. Hey. The little girl scratched her head. His eyes flickered and he didn't dare to look at him. Chu Xia raised her brows proudly. It's okay to tell you, Ying'er's teacher has taken a fancy to me. How about it, are you scared? Just that little skinny chicken, Zhou Mikang groaned. Then how unconfident I am. Thinking about Teacher Ma, who is not tall, thin, with a small head, round eyes, pointed chin, and a little hooked nose, Chu Xia curled his lips. You are too bad. How can someone say what a parent looks like? Zhou Mikang glanced at her amusedly. Are your words even more damaging? Have it? Have. Then there is. Chu Xia didn't care about spreading hands. Anyway, I'm telling the truth. Zhou Mikang. Daughter-in-law. Can you lose any more? Pu, when the car stopped at the school gate, Teacher Ma was passing by on a bicycle with a string cap on her head. Yinger laughed and nodded, "Uncle, little ant, teacher Ma looks like a peacock." While a few people were talking and laughing, Mr. Ma backed up on his legs and stared at the car door eagerly. Joe Mikang pushed the door and got out of the car. Smiled at him, "Good morning, Mr. Ma." "Good morning, good morning." The young man with a sharp mouth and monkey cheeks nodded with a flattering smile, "I look like your car, it's just right, I'll take Xiao Ying into it." He spoke effortlessly. His eyes couldn't help but glance into the car. "Trouble, Mr. Ma." Joe Mikang slapped him on the shoulder while talking, "What are you looking for?" "Nothing, nothing." Teacher Ma smiled embarrassedly, "I didn't find anything." At this moment, Yinger jumped out of the car and greeted Teacher Ma with a smile. Turning back and waving at Chu Xia, "Little ant, I'm going in." "Go." Chu Xia stuck out his head and waved at her. He smiled at Teacher Ma again, "Trouble, Teacher Ma." "It should be." Teacher Ma nodded with a red face, turned around, stepped on the pedals of the bicycle, took 2 steps forward, stepped on the bicycle and walked away. "This." Chu Xia looked at Joe Mikang speechlessly, "What does this mean?" "I've lost my mind because of you, what else can I mean?" Joe Mikang rubbed Yinger's little head, "Go by yourself, uncle and aunt will pick you up again in the evening." I'm sorry, I'm sorry." Teacher Ma fell back again, blushing as if bleeding, "I was in a hurry just now, and I forgot Xiao Ying." Without waiting for Chu Xia and Joe Mikang to reply, he bent over and squeezed Chi Yinger, put it on the car seat, and rushed in a hurry. Joe Mikang shook his head and got into the car, and smiled at Chuxia, "Now you know why I acted so quickly, and I am in a hurry to marry you home, right?" Chu Xia nodded, "Well, the eyes of the masses are discerning, and gold will never be buried." Joe Mikang, "Son, can't you be a little more humble? By the way, don't pick up Yinger yourself when I'm not around." "Jealous? Is he worthy of my jealousy just like that?" Joe Mikang snorted, "I care about you, do you understand?" "Don't know." Running back and forth, "Aren't you tired?" "Not tired." The group leader Tongza stroked his forehead helplessly, and changed the subject, "A child's heart is the purest, and she knows who is really good to her, so you don't need to be stressed this time." "I didn't have any pressure at first." Chu Xia spread her hands, "I'm still a little confident about my observation skills." "I don't believe she is still pretending now. No matter how old people are, they have instinctive self-protection. Yinger has never been truly loved and held in the palm of her hand since she was born, so she is afraid of being lost, afraid of losing. And the most important thing is that when she grows up to such a big age, no one has really talked to her on an equal footing, and no one has really cared about her from the bottom of her heart, so if you were cheated at the time, it must be considered a false hit. I believe that after this time, the most important person in her heart will become you. In fact, a child's heart is easy to be satisfied, but some people don't know it. I didn't do it to please her." Chu Xia rolled her eyes, "Don't say I have a lot of scheming, I treat her well, but I feel that no matter how unreliable her parents are, she is a victim." "Who said you are scheming?" Joe Mikang also rolled his eyes like her, "Are you putting money on your face too much?" "I hate it." Chu Xia was so angry that he stretched out his hand to push him, "Am I so stupid in your heart? Look at you. It's too hard to pass. You can't say you're smart. You can't say you're stupid. So what are you going to do? Introduce me fairly and impartially." Chu Xia raised his eyebrows. "Come on, give me a few compliments, coax me, or else, I won't like you anymore." "Then who do you want to like?" "Then you don't have to worry about it." "Of course I want to take care of it. You are my wife. I don't care who takes care of it." "Okay, I'll tell you when I like someone." "How do you do it?" "Lame him." Chu Xia. At room 301, Unit 8, number 75 Dengzhou Road, Shivei District, Joe Mikang knocked on the door. "Who is it?" Some soft female voices sounded, and it could be heard that they were the result of deliberately suppressing their voices. Holding back the nausea in his heart, Joe Mikang said, "It's me, Joe Mikang." After a brief silence, the female voice returned to its original sharpness. "Why are you looking for me? I have nothing to do with the Joe family anymore, so don't bother with me about the Joe family. If you don't want to be too embarrassing, you can open the door." Joe Mikang's tone is obvious and unquestionable. After a while of chattering, the door opened, and Lu Lingmei stood at the door with a straight face. "What's the matter?" "What's the matter?" Joe Mikang twitched at the corner of his mouth. "When you handed over the concentrated sulfuric acid to Ying. Have you thought about what will happen?" "You're talking nonsense." Lu Lingmei's face suddenly changed color. "How could I have given Ying any concentrated sulfuric acid? Xiaomi, I thought I treated you well when we were in the same family. I don't worry much about your lifelong event. Right? Why are you doing this to Aunt San now? Don't tell me, you have to watch the third aunt live a beggar life. Will you feel comfortable in your heart? I'm here to tell you that I know everything you've done. How long you and Zhang Tianbei's happy life will depend on what you do." Before Lu Lingmei could react, Joe Mikang had already turned around and went downstairs. "Wait," regained consciousness, Lu Lingmei shouted anxiously. "Marry Zhang Tianbei, and live a good life like this kind of clothes that you can stretch out your hands to eat and open your mouth, but she got it with all her efforts, and it's ruined. How can she live?" "You know how to do it." Joe Mikang's voice came from afar, and when Lu Lingmei chased him down the stairs, Joe Mikang's car had already driven out of the yard, and he returned to the house in a panic. Lu Lingmei was circling back and forth anxiously. Crack. "Ah! Zhang Ru, who opened the door and came in, was startled by Lu Lingmei's shout, and looked at her with a frown. "It's broad daylight, who are you scaring?" Glancing at Zhang Ru, Lu Lingmei went upstairs without saying a word. "There's something wrong with my brain," Zhang Ru muttered, then turned and walked to her room. "Who do you think has a brain problem?" Lu Lingmei turned around and stared at her. "Zhang Ru, I am an elder, you must know how to respect elders. If you want to make me respect, you have to do something to make me respect." Zhang Ru pouted at her. "I really feel sorry for Zhou Yiping. How could she have a mother like you? By the way, the strangest thing to me is, how on earth do you do your face? Also, I can't stop you from marrying my dad, but if you want to use my dad to do something unconscionable for you, don't blame me for being rude. I don't like talking to you." "It's not that you don't like to talk to me." Zhang Ru glanced at Lu Lingmei's back upstairs, with a look of disdain. "How can you love to talk to me when you have no face to talk to?" Lu Lingmei's footsteps paused slightly, then she quickened her pace and entered her bedroom, and closed the door with a bang. "Crazy." Zhang Ru rolled her eyes, went into her room, took a photo with her mother before, and started to be dazed. In the past, she and Zhou Yiping were friends, and she also respected Lu Lingmei very much. She even said that because of her relationship with Zhou Yiping, Lu Lingmei treated her well. Because of this, when Zhou Yiping disappeared and Lu Lingmei had nowhere to go, she extended her hand. But what she didn't expect was that the hand she extended made Lu Lingmei her stepmother. It's not that she disagrees with her father's continuation, but she never thought that the continuation would be Lu Lingmei. This is simply a joke. The big joke in the circle. It doesn't matter whether other people are talking about it behind their backs or not. Anyway, when she sees others whispering behind her back, she feels that they are talking about her and making fun of her. People say, "With a stepmother, there is a stepfather," before. She snorts at that. Now, I was really touched. No matter how much she persuaded, my father would not listen. On the contrary, he would tell her a lesson. Living under the same roof, the woman who got close to her father was replaced by a good friend's mother. She really felt how awkward it would be. After looking around again, she found out the suitcase and started to pack her things, since she would be unhappy looking at it. She dodged it. "Second miss, what are you going to do?" The door of the room was not closed, and Lee's mother panicked when she saw her packing her luggage. Mother Li Jong Ru smiled at her. "I'm going back to the dormitory to live for a while, my father's body, please." "Second miss, if you leave, I'll be even more uncertain." Mama Lee held her back. "Second miss and eldest miss discuss it before making a decision." "What's the use of discussing with my sister?" Jong Ru sighed. "She's always been obsessed with work, so she doesn't have the heart to meddle in these nosy things, let alone. If you want to care about it, you don't have to wait until now, forget it." "Boss, it doesn't matter, the second child, don't worry about it." "Lee Ma, if there is anything, you can go to the dormitory to find me." Second miss Mama Lee burst into tears. "If the eldest miss doesn't come back, and if the second miss leaves, this house will really belong to that woman. If it's hers, it's hers. As long as my dad is happy, it's fine." Jong Ru sighed. "I'm just sorry for you, but you don't have to bear her too much. If she does too much, if you have a job, you can go on strike and find me, and I will arrange a better job for you." Second miss Lee's mother's eyes are full of reluctance. She has worked in this family for more than 30 years. In her opinion, this is her home. Those warm days are still vivid in her mind. In between, it is about to fall apart. "Mother Lee, don't be too sad, I just want to be quiet for a while. Think about it, it's too depressing to stay in this house." Jong Ru stood up and hugged her. "Mom, if you know, she will support me like this maid." After moving out the deceased Jiang's mother, Lee's mother no longer stopped her, but took the initiative to help her pack her things, and told her to take good care of herself. "What is this for?" Yuni appeared at the door. She and Jong Ru and Zhou Yiping used to be best friends. Later, she married Jong Ru's brother Zhang Tao, and Zhou Yiping married Xiao Yuan. Only Jong Ru never married. After getting married, although Yuni and Jong Ru got along well, they were no longer as close as before. "I'm going to move out." Jong Ru smiled at her. "No one will argue with you from now on, you can relax." "Why did you move out?" Yun and I frowned and held her back, "just to make room for that woman." "Why? She should be the one who left, why should you leave? Now Dad has her in his heart, how can I stay?" Jong Ru smiled wryly. "Yuni, I'm different from you, my dad is your father-in-law, although you don't like it, but, it's just embarrassing what he did. But I am even more angry at his infidelity to my mother. Well, I admit that although I want him to continue, I mind that he treats other women better than my mother. If I continue to live here, I'm afraid that one day I will do something that I regret. Therefore, moving out and being calm is the best way. When I really adjust myself, I will come back. Yes, this is my home, I can't just run away like this, it's just that the reason is clear, but I can't do it now." "That's fine." Yuni sighed heavily. "It would be great if we never grew up. Until now, I often dream about the three of us going to school and playing together, but in reality, we never grow up again. It can't be like that anymore." "Yes, since she got married, it's no longer possible." Jong Ru also sighed. "What I'm most puzzled about is how can she have such a thick skin? You said that she is so old, at night, how could it be like that at night?" Hearing what she said, Yuni's face also turned red. Although she was married, she never dared to shout too presumptuously when she did that at night. "I didn't expect that after this good friend's mother got married, almost every other night, we will give them a small night singing. The problem is, it's easy to talk about other things, except for this matter." They couldn't open their mouths when they heard it, including her husband Zhang Tao, who had no other choice but to get angry. Zhou Mikang found the place where Zhang Tianbei worked. Seeing him, Zhang Tianbei had a faint smile on his face. "Mr. Zhou, why are you willing to come and see me, an old man?" "Are you an old man?" I don't know if he was thinking too much, but Jiang Tianbei felt that Zhou Mikang's words were tingly. Haha laughed twice, and got up from behind the desk. Sitting opposite Zhou Mikang, are you also here to persuade me to divorce? I don't have that right. Zhou Mikang waved his hand, whoever you marry is your freedom, but what I want to say is that once you marry her, you have to take good care of her and don't let her do evil outside. You may not be able to take the responsibility for causing a catastrophe one day. Uncle Zhang, this is the end of my words, so please take care of yourself. Before Jiang Tianbei could recover, Zhou Mikang disappeared quickly. He used the same tactics in front of the second married couple. Jiang Tianbei was stunned for a while, then quickly got up and went home. When he arrived at the door, he happened to meet the second daughter Zhang Ryu, who was carrying a suitcase downstairs, followed by the eldest daughter-in-law Yuni. Where are you going? Jiang Tianbei frowned at his daughter. Go to the dormitory. Playing the piano randomly, Jiang Tianbei stared at his daughter. It's not that you don't have a home, why do you want to occupy a bed? Is there a place for me to live in this family? Biting her lips, Zhang Ryu said, Dad, have you ever thought that I'm still an unmarried girl, and you let that woman shout all day long? Is it plausible? Jiang Tianbei's face turned red. He told Lu Lingmei about this. The other party often agrees well, but when the time comes. Then he yelled uncontrollably, and every time he was served very comfortably, he turned a blind eye to her actions. He has been deluding himself to think that everyone closes the door to sleep at night, so they should not be able to hear it, but he didn't expect. After all, he was in his 50s, and he couldn't bear it when his daughter said it outright, but he didn't have any reason to reprimand his daughter. Zhang Ryu sighed in disappointment, Dad, let's think about it. After finishing speaking, he left without looking back. Lu Yuni stood there in embarrassment, she is the daughter-in-law. Qin Mei's operation started at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. Early in the morning, Shuxia and Song Xiao made preparations and rehearsals. Song Xiao made assumptions about various possibilities. Song Xiao even took her and Wang Jing to sew a rabbit. As a result, Wang Jing really admired Chu Xia's sewing skills. She had learned it for almost 3 years, and Chu Xia, who had learned it for less than a year in comparison, she found that her skills were not a little bit worse. Chu Xia, you will be a very good surgeon. The sensitivity of your hands is beyond my imagination. After a careful inspection, Song Xiao also praised her rarely. Thank you, teacher, for the compliment. Chu Xia is also very satisfied with the results of her labor. Compared with the last time, her progress can be seen, which shows that she really chose the right industry. And she found that she especially enjoys the feeling of being able to cure patients with her own hands. After returning to the office to rest for a while, the three of them went to the ward to give Qin Mei a preoperative examination. In order to avoid Wang Feng, Wang Jing had never been to the ward before, but this time, she was the first to help and could no longer avoid it, so she entered the ward with Song Xiao Chuxia expressionless. Seeing the three of them, Qin Mei showed a smile on her face. Chu Xia's psychological counseling was very effective for her. She had changed from the initial confusion and fear to facing it calmly. This is a ward, not a movie theater. Put away your melon seeds. Looking at Wang Feng, who was sitting on the side eating melon seeds, Song Xiao frowned. Wang Jing, Chu Xia, didn't you explain to the escorts? I've said it. Chu Xia glared at Wang Feng bitterly, and replied to Song Xiao, I told her all the precautions, and I even took the test, but I didn't expect that she would do the same thing in person. I'm sorry, I'm sorry. Wang Feng quickly apologized. I came here without eating in the morning, I'm so hungry, I just saw that there are packets of melon seeds here, so I will fill my hunger first. Bread is not good to satisfy your hunger. Song Xiao pointed to a few breads on the bedside table, you can find a good reason to lie. Hey. Wang Feng smiled shyly, I don't like bread, it's tasteless. You. Song Xiao was so angry that she had never seen such a family member before. Put away the melon seeds quickly. As a helper, Wang Jing no longer wanted to get in touch with Wang Feng, but now she had to. Seeing her appearance, Wang Feng quickly widened her eyes. You. What are you? Clean up quickly. Wang Jing frowned and stared at her. You are here to accompany the bed, not to be a guest. If you can't do it, you should leave as soon as possible. I'm your sister. Wang Feng slapped her thigh, stepped forward to hold her hand, and smiled affectionately. Xiao Jing, you don't know your sister anymore? You really don't know your sister? Wang Jing. First marriage then love. Mr. Mayor, please be kind. Author, Zhao Nuan. Chapter 486. I have encountered very unhappy things these days. Nuan has basically adjusted, and will start more tomorrow. The hand tightly held by Wang Feng twitched a few times, but Wang Jing frowned angrily and stared at him. Let me go. Wang Feng smiled and let go of her hand. I haven't seen you for a few years. Have you separated from my sister? He said and looked at Qin Mei. My cousin lives with my aunt, and she was the closest to me when I was young. Wang Jing secretly rolled her eyes. She was always bullied when she was young. Okay. This woman has a really thick skin. Clean these up. Song Xiao frowned and glanced at the large stall in front of Wang Feng. If this happens again next time, you will be fully responsible for the patient's problems. The skin of melon seeds can cause problems for patients. Wang Feng muttered, and seeing Song Xiao's expression turned pale, he hurried to get a broom and cleaned it obediently. After examining Qin Mei's body in detail, Song Xiao nodded with satisfaction. Your body is in good shape. Keeping an optimistic attitude is good for postoperative recovery. Thank you, Director Song. Qin Mei looked at her gratefully. I'm sorry for your trouble these few days. Rest well, don't eat at noon, you can drink less water. Song Xiao took the trouble to repeat the preoperative requirements before leaving. Isn't he just a doctor? When the group walked away, Wang Feng curled her lips in disdain and looked at Qin Mei. Sister, can Director Zhou come over today? Qin Mei looked at her helplessly. Wang Feng, how many times have I told you that he is just my leader? Why don't you believe it? I believe. Wang Feng laughed. Even if it's the leader, he should come to see you at this time, right? Xiao Qin, do you feel good? Coincidentally, at the same time as Wang Feng finished speaking, Zhou Shanping walked in. Director Zhou. Qin Mei quickly sat up. I'm fine, why are you here? I have a meeting in the afternoon, but I can't make it. I'll come and see you in advance. Director Zhou, please sit down. Zhou Shanping smiled at Wang Feng, sat on the stool she gave her, looked at Qin Mei's face, and nodded. Yes, you look good, don't be nervous. Director Song is a famous doctor in our province. Your illness is at her place. Is nothing at all. I know. Qin Mei nodded repeatedly. I'm not nervous, Director. If you have something to do, go and do it. Sister Huang and Wang Feng are watching over here, so you'll be fine. My parents can come over in the afternoon, so don't worry. Zhou Shanping smiled at her. Okay. Don't worry about the work side. When will you take care of your health and when will you go to work? Looking at Zhou Shanping's gentle smile, Qin Mei was a little dazed. How long had she not seen him smiling at her like this? So, all she gave him was pressure but no warmth, right? So, they are really inappropriate, right? Until Zhou Shanping left, her expression was still in a trance. In Wang Feng's eyes, she naturally misunderstood the relationship between the two of them. Sister. Wang Feng moved closer to Qin Mei and smiled meaningfully. After my sister is discharged from the hospital, hurry up and settle the marriage. For a good man like Director Zhou, sister should hurry up. What nonsense, Qin Mei glared at her. I said, he is only my leader. If you keep talking nonsense like that, Don't come here, I'll ask the unit to send someone over. Sister, I'm doing it for your own good, I'm anxious for you. Wang Feng pouted aggrievedly, and seeing Qin Mei's face was not very good looking, he quickly grabbed her arm and shook her. Sister, I know I was wrong. Don't dare anymore. Sister, don't be angry with me, let me do my duty as a younger brother and sister, okay? At noon, Qin's father and Qin's mother also came. Looking at their daughter lying on the hospital bed, the old couple couldn't tell what it was like. It's not that they don't want to take care of their daughter, but it's not easy to ask for leave. Moreover, if the salary is reduced because of the leave, and the son wants to be picky, for their own sake and for their daughter's comfort, they can only harden their hearts and let others do it. Take care of my daughter. As for why the prospective daughter-in-law came to take care of their daughter, of course they understand, but from the perspective of their experience, it is probably impossible for the daughter and director Zhou. However, since Wang Feng misunderstood, they don't want to point it out. Let's talk about Gan'er. It was the first time I was on the operating table, and it would be a lie to say that I was not nervous. For lunch, Chu Xia didn't eat much, so I couldn't eat it. Looking at her appearance, Wang Jing couldn't help but pursed her lips and smiled. I didn't expect you to be nervous, but you are much better than me. When I went to the operating room for the first time, I was so nervous that I vomited. Really, Chu Xia took a deep breath. I feel a little guilty. You won't laugh at me for being worthless, will you? What's so funny about this? Wang Jing looked around and lowered her voice. You can ask the teacher later on. Among the students she has taught, is there any student who cannot be nervous when entering the operating room for the first time? Let me tell you, you are definitely a typical example of good performance. It is said that the most serious one has been insomnia after learning that he is going to the operating room, and then passed out on the day when he was actually going to the operating room. Is that an exaggeration? Do you think I'd joke about something like that? That's right, Chu Xia nodded in relief. Speaking of which, I'm pretty good, huh? Certainly. What are you talking about? Whispering, Luo Xiaoxian came over with a lunchbox and glared at Chu Xia. You bastard, you didn't wait for me to eat at noon, so I missed you when I went to find you. I'm sorry, I'm too nervous today. Chu Xia hurriedly apologized. Please forgive me for the special circumstances. Why are you nervous? Isn't it just going to the operating room? Besides, you only have a 1% chance of doing it yourself. Thinking about it this way, what's there to be nervous about? Being an administrator is different. Chu Xia looked at her amusedly. However, I want to ask Assistant Luo, if you are allowed to enter the operating room, will you be nervous? Definitely not. Luo Xiaoxian shook her head calmly. If you don't believe me, let's switch and try. Cut. Chu Xia rolled his eyes speechlessly. You really don't feel pain in your back when you stand up and talk? You know it's impossible to change and try to talk big and despise you. If despising me can make you less nervous, then despise me. Chu Xia. How could this person be such a rascal? Back at the office after dinner, Lu Meijun and Yun Daodu, who were not at work, also came to find her, as well as Yang Xiaoli and Lin Mengran, who also specially came to cheer her up. Among the same group of students, Chu Xia was the first to follow into the operating room. Because of the competition with the original students of 401, Chu Xia was able to enter the operating room so quickly, and the students in the medical team all felt a sense of pride. Of course, there must be acid in the heart, but that kind of students will not appear here. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. First marriage then love, Mr. Mayor please be kind. Author, Zhao Nuan. Chapter 487. Submit a 4,000-word chapter. When I followed the teacher into the operating room for the first time, not only was there no one to comfort me, but I was also beaten up by Jiao Maiken. Compared with you. Wang Jing sighed with emotion, I am really too bad. Failed. Our situations are different, we can't compare like this. Chu Xia laughed, when we first joined the army, we also fought fiercely. Don't comfort me. Even if I were in your situation, I wouldn't have so many friends. This has a lot to do with my personality. After a pause, Wang Jing continued, Lin Chuxia, actually I'm still jealous. Your looks and talents have made you who you are, but if it were me, I wouldn't be lovable with a character like yours. It's impossible to figure out some things at once. Chu Xia didn't try to persuade her. She just smiled and shook her head, you have so many reasons. Haha. Wang Jing smiled nonchalantly, maybe it's because I feel too inferior that I always have to find excuses for myself. In fact, I want to comfort you. I understand. Chu Xia looked at her seriously, senior sister, you have changed a lot than before. I have seen it all. No need to explain, I understand. Dong dong. Wang Feng walked in, smiled carelessly at the two of them, and sat next to Wang Jing. Xiao Jing, when did you come to work in 401? I don't even know. Wang Jing looked at her coldly, what's the matter? Xiao Jing, we are cousins. I know you work here, so shouldn't it be right for me to come and see you, Wang Feng said while looking at Chu Xia, Dr. Xiaolin. Do you think what I said is right? Haha. Chu Xia laughed dryly and stood up, you guys chat. I'm going to the bathroom. When she reached the door, she almost bumped into the middle-aged woman who hurried in. She was so frightened that she quickly took 2 steps back. Sister-in-law, Wang Jing shouted in surprise. He looked at Chu Xia and introduced, this is my sister-in-law Wang Lei. You were not here when she came a few days ago. Sister-in-law, this is the Lin Chuxia I told you. Hello, Chu Xia. The middle-aged woman handed the thermos bucket in her hand to Wang Jing, and held Chu Xia affectionately, thank you for your tolerance to Xiao Jing. He has a very well-proportioned medium build, and his facial features are not exactly exquisite. But it gives people a very comfortable feeling. When she smiles, the corners of her lips are slightly raised, which naturally makes people feel close to her. Chu Xia also unconsciously burst out with a sweet smile, hello, aunt, you are so polite. This kid is really cute. Wang Lei glared at Wang Jing and said. Why are you still standing there? Why don't you give Chu Xia a taste of the white fungus and red date soup I stewed? Wang Feng looked at Wang Lei eagerly, sister-in-law. I'm here too. I saw it. Wang Lei nodded lightly at her, if you don't stay with your eldest sister, why are you running around here? Sister-in-law. Wang Feng frowned, I am also your biological niece. How can you treat her so differently? You have parents who love you, so who will get me? Wang Lei glared at her, I want to be a good wife of the Qin family. You have to work hard, why are you standing here? Wang Feng snorted from his nose. Turned around and left the office. Xiao Jing, if you don't want to talk to her, just don't talk to her. I know. Wang Jing handed a bowl of hot soup to Chu Xia. My sister-in-law's soup-making skills are beyond compare. You will know when you try it. The same porridge she makes tastes different. Okay, let me try it. Chu Xia was not polite, took the bowl, tasted it carefully, and praised sincerely, Wang Jing, you are really good at tasting it, sister-in-law, your soup is really amazing. If you like it, ask Xiao Jing to bring it to you every day. Wang Lei narrowed her eyes as she smiled, it's good for girls to drink more soup. Don't refuse, my sister-in-law is sincere. I know my sister-in-law means it sincerely, but if you take it with you every day, it's easy to get tired of it, no matter how good it is. Chu Xia smiled and handed the empty bowl to Wang Jing, here's another bowl. No more drinks. Wang Jing pushed her bowl back, it's not long before the operation. You drink so much, what if you want to go to the toilet? I almost forgot. Chusia smiled gratefully at her. Thank you, senior sister, for reminding me. You seem smart all day long, but you were just a little fool when you first came out. Wang Jing shook her head helplessly and tightened the lid of the thermos bucket. You can drink the rest after you have the surgery. Good. Seeing the interaction between her niece and Chusia, Wang Lei turned her face away and quietly wiped away her tears. Song Xiao was also very interested to see Wang Lei when she came back. When Wang Lei pulled her aside and muttered a few words, she smiled and shook her head. You still don't believe what I said, do you? Wang Lei shook her head repeatedly. No, I believe it, but I have to see it in person to feel more confident. Tell me the truth. Can Xiaojing follow you all the time? It's impossible to follow me all the time. Seeing Wang Lei's expression change, Song Xiao smiled. Don't you want her to become a disciple? Are you still following me? Haha. Wang Lei smiled sheepishly. I mean, can she always follow you before she becomes a disciple? Song Xiao looked at Wang Jing. Wang Jing, do you want to leave me? That's all my sister-in-law's worries. She never trusts me. Wang Jing smiled sheepishly, but this also shows that what I did before was not good enough. As long as you know. Song Xiao glanced at the time and said, let's go, follow me to prepare for the operation. Chuxia, do you want to go to the bathroom first? Of course. After the words fell, Chuxia had already disappeared. Wang Jing shook her head in amusement. I just wanted to drink another bowl of soup. Song Xiao rolled her eyes at her. For her age, it's pretty good to be able to do this. Think about the first time you entered the operating room, you were not as good as her. Wang Jing's face turned red. Teacher, I'm not laughing at her. Song Xiao's face tightened. Really? Wang Jing shook her head anxiously. Of course not. I didn't lie, teacher, I swear, I really didn't laugh at Chuxia. Song Xiao's brows and eyes were filled with a smile. I'm teasing you, I think I'll scare you. Wang Jing. Coming out of the toilet, Chuxia met Zhou Shanping, who came in a hurry. Traveling with him was a woman in her 40s. Uncle Third, Chuxia greeted with a smile. Early summer. Zhou Shanping stopped and introduced the woman next to her. This is your fourth brother-in-law's aunt, Liao Xinting, the deputy director of the supply and marketing building. He then looked at the middle-aged woman. This is Xiaomi's wife, Lin Chuxia. You haven't seen her yet, have you? Hello, Aunt Liao. Hello Chuxia. Liao Xinting looked at Chuxia with admiration on her face. You're really cute. Xiaomi is a lucky person. He waited and waited for his favorite. Thank you Aunt Liao for the compliment. Chuxia smiled calmly. I also think Zhou Mikang is blessed. He has so many relatives, friends, and elders who truly love him. After being stunned for a moment, Liao Xinting smiled heartily and said, no wonder Xiangping likes you. Your personality is exactly what she wants. She doesn't like coy girls the most. Chuxia glanced at the time and smiled sheepishly. Uncle Third, Aunt Liao, I have to hurry up and prepare. I will talk to you after the operation. Zhou Shanping waved his hand at her. Go ahead, let's go, we also want to go to the ward. When Chuxia walked to the office door, Wang Jing was waiting for her, not waiting for her to go in. Pushing her straight out. Hurry up, the teacher is waiting for us. The second assistant was Li Cheng. He was making preparations when he saw Chuxia and Wang Jing coming in. He just nodded slightly and continued to work on himself. Chuxia lowered her voice. Senior sister. Why haven't I seen you working as a second assistant for others? They don't need it. Wang Jing curled her lips and saw that Song Xiao didn't look here. Then he continued, Director Huang and Director Tao are not as skilled as the teacher, so they deliberately isolate us. They swap people for every operation. Chuxia nodded suddenly, changed her clothes, and went to do disinfection. She did it very seriously. Wang Jing, who was watching her movements and wanting to give her some advice, finally gave her a thumbs up. Entering the operating room, Qin Mei had been pushed in. She was lying there, very anxious. Song Xiao stepped forward to comfort her. "Don't be nervous, this operation is not very dangerous, trust me." Yes, Qin Mei nodded. Her eyes fell on Chu Xia, who was standing at the back, and then on Li Qing. Her face turned red, she bit her lip and looked at Song Xiao. Can you not, is a male doctor present?" Song Xiao smiled and shook her head. "Li Qing is the second assistant. According to the regulations, he must be present." "Qin Mei, he is a doctor now, not a man. Relax." "No," Qin Mei's face flushed nervously, I can't accept it. Doctors are neither male nor female. You have to accept it even if you can't accept it," Song Xiao said and looked at the anesthesiologist. "Let's get started." "No," Qin Mei wrapped herself tightly in the sheets and huddled into a ball. I'm not married yet, I don't want a male doctor." "Nonsense," Song Xiao frowned, "when life is at stake, do you still care about this?" "Comrade Qin Mei, please cooperate with my work." No, I won't," Qin Mei said, her body curled up even more. The anesthesiologist shook his head helplessly at Song Xiao. He could not give anesthesia to the patient in such a state. "Director Song, I think I'd better go out." Li Qing looked at Song Xiao with an ugly face. "I can't work well in the face of such a patient." "Qin Mei." Song Xiao tried to pat Qin Mei on the shoulder, but found that the other party's body was as hard as iron, so she had to sigh, waved to Li Qing, and motioned for him to go out first. Sure enough, the moment he went out, Qin Mei's body softened. "You are a patient, how could you do this?" Song Xiao also looked very ugly. This was not the first time she had seen this kind of patient, but she had never seen such a violent reaction like Qin Mei's. "I'm sorry," Qin Mei's eyes were full of tears. I don't want to do this, but I can't control myself. I met a male doctor when I was doing an examination before, he. Seeing Qin Mei's appearance, Song Xiao still didn't understand what was going on, so she frowned and asked, "Who is that male doctor?" "He is dead." Song Xiao. What's going on? She had no choice but to ask Nurse Ji Hong to find Xiao Maiken. As a result, Ji Hong came back after a while and said that Xiao Maiken had entered another operating room. She also went to Director Tao, and 2 interns also entered the operating room. In other words, except Li Qing, there is no one else available now. Chu Xia. Song Xiao looked at Chu Xia hesitantly, unable to make a decision. The second assistant was to help with some preliminary work, that is, some simple sutures. This was not difficult for Chu Xia. She took a deep breath and looked at Song Xiao. "Teacher, I can do it." Qin Mei quickly answered, "I believe in her, no matter what the outcome, I believe in her." "Okay, prepare for the operation." Song Xiao looked at the anesthesiologist. "Let's get started." The operation was carried out in an orderly manner. The epidermis, dermis, and abdominal cavity were incised, and blood poured out quickly. Wang Jing glanced at Chu Xia with some worry, but saw that the other person's eyes were staring at Song Xiao's hand tightly, without any sign of panic. She couldn't help but secretly praised the teacher's good eyesight, thinking that it was her first time to participate in the operation. "I was almost scared to death." In fact, Chu Xia was so nervous that her heart almost jumped out of her chest. This was not a guinea pig, but a real human belly. If nothing else, the pile of intestines when Song Xiao took them out was terrifying enough. She tried hard to suppress her emotions and try not to show panic on her face. Qin Mei was half numb and very clear, and she kept staring at her. She didn't want to make the other party nervous because of her performance. She was calm, only then can the other party be calm, so she can only make herself look calm. At this moment, even she admired her acting skills and believed that no one except her parents could see her nervousness. As the operation progressed, Song Xiao watched the sarcoma as big as a fist being cleaned out, and her heartbeat was no longer so fast. Even she was surprised at her skill in debridement and removal. The last stitch came from Chu Xia's hand. After tying the knot and twisting the thread, she realized that her back was soaked. "Chu Xia, you are awesome," Wang Jing gave her a thumbs up. "I have never been so worry-free as a first aid. Compared with you, Li Qing and Jiao Maikan are really far behind." "Thank you for the compliment, senior sister." Chu Xia looked at Song Xiao anxiously. "Teacher." "Not bad." Song Xiao smiled and shook her head. "You still have to praise me." Chu Xia nodded matter-of-factly. "That's right, only the teacher's affirmation can make me feel at ease." The anesthesiologist looked at Song Xiao with a smile. "Director Song, congratulations on receiving such a talented student." After Song Xiao checked carefully, she signaled the nurse to push the patient into the intensive care unit, and then looked at the anesthesiologist. "Will I accept students who are not talented?" "Chu Xia." "Teacher, can you be more humble? First marriage then love, Mr. Mayor please be kind." Author, Zhao Nuan. Chapter 488. As the hospital bed was pushed out of the operating room, Qin Mei's parents immediately gathered around and looked worriedly at Song Xiao, who walked out later. "The operation went well, don't worry." Thank you, thank you, dear Song." The old couple's happiness was beyond words. Qin Sheng, who was following them, grinned at Zhou Shanping. "Director Zhou, my sister is fine." Zhou Shanping pretended not to hear what he said, raised his feet and followed the medical staff forward. Qin Sheng's face flashed with a trace of sadness, and he pulled Wang Feng and chased after him. Chu Xia was the last one to come out, and what caught his eye was the smile on Zhou Mikang's face, and he nodded with satisfaction. "Not bad, he takes me seriously." Raising his hand to rub her head, Zhou Mikang frowned when he felt the wetness in his hand. "Start tomorrow and exercise well, otherwise, you will be disqualified from being a doctor." "Hey," most of the emotion in Chu Xia's heart disappeared in an instant. "What's your attitude? Can I not be nervous when I enter the operating room for the first time? My physical fitness is better, and I won't sweat so much when I'm nervous." "I reject it." "You have no right to reject it. Whether you have the right or not, you can try it." After being together for so long, Chu Xia knew that he was definitely not joking, so she quickly softened her tone. "I will exercise, I promise to exercise, but this must be done step by step, right? I will check and accept it when I come back. If you don't pass the test, you can train me honestly. When you pass the test, you can become a doctor again." "What does it mean to be qualified?" Chu Xia stared at him dissatisfied. "Being a doctor is not like going to the battlefield to fight. You can't ask me according to the standards of a soldier." Early summer. After sighing, Zhou Mikang stopped talking. "I'll talk to you when I get home, okay? Go to the ward first. I'll pick you up in the evening. If you have anything to say, just say it quickly." "What are you doing?" Chu Xia gritted her teeth bitterly. "You know I'm very curious, but you still play with me like this. It's not convenient now, let's go tonight." Before Chu Xia could say anything, Zhou Mikang had already turned around and strode away. Wang Jing, who was standing in the distance waiting for Chu Xia, came over and asked cautiously, "What's wrong? Did you have a quarrel?" "No." Chu Xia sighed helplessly. "They think my physical strength is not good enough, so they ask me to exercise quickly, otherwise I won't be allowed to be a doctor." "Ah," Wang Jing opened her mouth in surprise. Then he nodded in agreement. "Your physical strength is not very good. It's okay to be so young now. But in the future, when you get older and stand on the operating table for several hours, how can you stand it? Chu Xia was completely speechless. Generation gap, this is the generation gap. It's still too late to start exercising now. Wang Jing pulled her up with a smile. Let's go, the teachers have passed, don't stay here in a daze. Qin Mei's surgery was very successful. After showing the removal samples to her family, they were sent for testing. However, even an inexperienced rookie like Chu Xia could tell that it was most likely benign. Song Xiao didn't say anything. But he could roughly hear the meaning, and Qin's father and Qin's mother were relieved. With their lives no longer in danger, they quickly began to worry about another problem. Director Song. Can my daughter still have children in the future? Mother Qin pulled Song Xiao aside and asked in a low voice. I can't guarantee this. Song Xiao smiled helplessly. However, whether she can have children or not, it has little to do with her surgery this time. Director Song, I don't have much education. If you say this, I'm even less sure. Can you give me an accurate answer? Mother Qin looked like she was about to cry. Song Xiao has a big head. As a doctor, she can't say certain things too harshly, but what should she do if she meets such a family member? After hesitating for a moment, he said, I can't give you any certainty on this matter. Let's put it this way. If you are worried, you can go to the gynecology department for a checkup after she recovers. Do you still need to have an examination? Mother Qin's expression turned pale. Are you afraid that I won't be able to bear it and won't tell me the truth? Chu Xia, who was standing not far away, listened to the conversation between the two on different frequency bands, and had to take a step closer to help Song Xiao. Auntie, what the teacher means is that whether you can have a baby has nothing to do with this operation. If Sister Qin is in good health, then when she gets better, it will be no problem to get married and have children. Hearing what Chu Xia said, the worry on Qin's mother's face finally faded away, and she smiled sheepishly at Song Xiao. Director Song, don't think I'm wordy. As a mother, it's hard to avoid overthinking. It's okay. Song Xiao smiled at her. You can eat liquid food after 3 days, such as vegetable soup and millet soup. Family members should worry more. A trace of worry flashed in Mother Qin's eyes, and then she nodded repeatedly. Thank you, Director Song. After she left, Song Xiao smiled at Chu Xia. Do you think the teacher is stupid? No, no, Chu Xia quickly shook her head. I can say some things, but the teacher can't. I understand. Song Xiao squinted at her. Is that so? Chu Xia blinked her big eyes and laughed. The teacher is a cultural person and is not good at communicating with ordinary people. If I say this, you won't hit me, right? You. Song Xiao shook her head in amusement. Don't pretend to be reserved in front of me from now on. If you have something to say, just say it. Otherwise, I won't take you with me. Teacher, don't wait for this. Are you retaliating? Think about it for yourself. Song Xiao changed the subject. You also know the relationship between Wang Jing and Wang Feng. You should keep an eye on them here these 2 days. Okay, I will. Chu Xia responded. After walking to the hospital bed and observing various data, Song Xiao looked at the people gathered around the hospital bed. Who is on duty tonight? Sister Huang quickly raised her hand. Director Song, I will be on duty tonight. If you can't do it alone, who else? After being pushed by Qin Sheng, Wang Feng reluctantly said, then it will be me. Xiao Feng, you go home and rest, I'll stay tonight, Qin's mother said. Wang Feng rolled his eyes secretly. Why did he go there so early? Qin's mother took in her expression, and the worry in her eyes became heavier. She didn't say anything just now because she wanted to see Wang Feng's attitude. There was nothing to worry about before the operation, but after the operation, she was really afraid that Wang Feng would not do her best. As a mother, how could she not love her daughter? However, Her son had a bad personality and her daughter had never been married. In order for her daughter to be less stressed in that family, she could only follow her son's wishes and continue working with her wife, leaving her daughter to the nursing staff and her daughter-in-law. Now it seems that even if her son is not willing, she must take leave to take care of her daughter. Recovery after surgery is a big deal. If something happens to her, it will be for life. Chin's father also sighed quietly. For a while, the family would never have peace again. Qin Sheng, who was originally a little depressed, turned pale when Chin's mother said she wanted to stay and take care of Qin Mei. She probably realized that she didn't look good, so she deliberately yelled at Wang Feng, "How old is mom, you still let mom stay up late? If you want to marry into the Qin family, you must take good care of my sister." "How can I not do my best?" Wang Feng stared at him with an unconvinced look on his face. "I have not done my best to take care of you here these days. When my sister wakes up, you can ask her. I asked for leave and will not go to work to stay here every day. Here, you still talk about me like this, do you have a conscience? How dare you be so stubborn?" Qin Sheng rushed in front of Wang Feng, raised his hand and was about to slap her in the face. Wang Feng not only did not retreat, but raised her face and stared at him. "It seems that you don't want to turn the divorce certificate into a marriage certificate. Come on, if you don't fight, you will have a grandson. You." Qin Sheng glanced at Wang Feng anxiously, but unfortunately, the other party not only didn't understand, but also laughed. "Why are the corners of your eyes twitching? Do you want me to save face for you in front of others? Go ahead and dream about your big head. The surgical intensive care unit is opposite the nurse's desk. There are 6 beds in total, which are specially used for patients who have just completed the operation and are not yet in the critical period. Including Qin Mei, there are 4 patients in the room, and the other 3 can already sit up. It is noisy here. It was a pleasure, but to relieve the boredom of the patients and accompanying family members in the other 3 beds, all they had to do was move small benches and sit in rows. One of the patients was so curious that he twisted his body too much and pulled the incision. He fell back with an ouch in pain, and the accompanying family members hurriedly called the attending doctor. After Director Huang came in for inspection, he found that he had only pulled the wound and there was no serious problem. He scolded him a few times, came to Song Xiao and said with a cold face, "Handle your affairs well, don't affect the recovery of my patient over there." Although Qin Sheng and Wang Feng had just been kicked out by Song Xiao, this matter was indeed not handled well by her side. Song Xiao had to suppress her anger and apologize to Director Huang. After the other party left, Qin's father and Qin's mother apologized to Song Xiao. Wang Feng and Qin Sheng also came in to admit their mistakes to her, saying that they were in a bad mood because they were worried about Qin Mei's health. Chu Xia secretly curled her lips. It was strange to be worried. If it weren't for Zhou Shanping's relationship, they probably wouldn't have even stepped through the hospital's door, right? Zhou Shanping and Liao Xinting stood aside without saying a word. Originally, Liao Xinting thought that sending Sister Huang here was a bit of a fuss. Now, she finally understood what Zhou Shanping was doing. According to the situation of the Qin family, if the unit does not come forward, Qin Mei's technique post-recovery is indeed a big problem. Should we not send Xiao Lu over to work shifts with Xiao Huang? Liao Xinting discussed with Zhou Shanping in a low voice. On the way here, she asked Zhou Shanping if the relationship between him and Qin Mei was true. Zhou Shanping and Liao Xinting had known each other since elementary school, so they told the truth truthfully. Originally, Liao Xinting was very angry with Qin Mei, but now, looking at Qin Mei lying alone on the hospital bed, and making trouble regardless of Qin Mei's life and death Qin Sheng, she felt bad immediately. After thinking about it, Zhou Shanping said, "If we arrange it this way, Xiao Qin's relationship with her family will probably not be easy to get along with in the future. Let's take a look at the situation first." If her family really can't do their best, then send Xiaolu here. Feeling that what Zhou Shanping said was reasonable, Liao Xinting nodded in agreement. First marriage then love, Mr. Mayor please be kind. Author, Zhao Nuan. Chapter 489. Sister-in-law, what are you doing here? Go home. Seeing that her sister-in-law was still outside, Wang Jing stepped forward and pushed her. Why do you like to take care of things so much? I'll go back right away. Wang Lei sighed, I just came here to keep an eye on Wang Feng because I was afraid that she would cause trouble. Regardless of whether we kiss her or not, she is still a member of the Wang family. If she loses her reputation, it will also affect you. Of sister-in-law, you think too much. If we hadn't met in the hospital, she might have forgotten that she has a sister like me. Wang Jing pushed her away impatiently. Don't worry so much. Sister-in-law, what's wrong with you? Feeling Wang Lei's sudden stiffness, Wang Jing stared at her with a puzzled expression. Following her line of sight, she saw a middle-aged man standing not far away, staring straight at her sister-in-law. Wang Jing knew that man. He was the husband of the woman who didn't believe what Chu Xia had persuaded her to do a few days ago and had a cerebral hemorrhage. His surname seemed to be Wang. Wang Jing was furious. Wasn't the man that my sister-in-law liked in the past also surnamed Wang? Is it such a coincidence? After a brief moment of shock, Wang Lei regained her composure. She smiled faintly at the man. Hello, Comrade Wang Liang. Comrade Wang Lei, hello. The corner of Wang Jing's mouth twitched. It was really. After calling each other, the former lovers didn't know what to say, so they just stood there quietly without saying a word. It could be seen from their body movements that both of them were extremely uncomfortable. It just so happened that he came out with Song Xiao in early summer, and Wang Liang found a savior. Dr. Xiaolin, my family members are conscious. Congratulations. Chu Xia looked surprised. When did it happen? Not long ago. Director Jing was checking her up. I came to see you. I heard that you were here. I came over right away. I didn't expect that you were really here. What a coincidence. Listening to Wang Liang's incoherent words, Chu Xia just thought he was crazy for joy and followed his wishes. Yes, it's quite a coincidence. She looked at Song Xiao. Teacher, I'll go and take a look and come back, okay? Song Xiao nodded at her. Go ahead and remember to call home later. Third uncle is here. I don't need to call. Chu Xia hurriedly walked to Zhou Shanping and smiled sheepishly at Liao Xinting. Aunt Liao, let me say a few words to third uncle. Do you want me to avoid it? Liao Xinting said and was about to walk away. Chu Xia quickly grabbed her. No, I'll just tell my third uncle. I have to be on duty with the teacher tonight and won't go home. Please tell third uncle, grandparents, parents, and others. Okay. Zhou Shanping nodded. I'll go back and tell them what they need, and ask Xiaomi to bring it to you. No, there's nothing needed. I'm just on duty. Chu Xia waved to Zhou Shanping, turned around and walked towards Wang Liang. At this moment, she noticed something was wrong with Wang Liang and followed his gaze. Realizing that it was Wang Lei that he was peeking at, he couldn't help but secretly sighed. Unexpectedly, Wang Liang, who seems to be very honest, would be like this. Ahem, she coughed lightly and said, Comrade Wang, let's go. Wang Liang's face turned red instantly and he responded repeatedly, following Chu Xia towards his wife's ward. Halfway through, he finally couldn't help but explain, Dr. Xiaolin, I'm not a bad man who likes you. The corners of Chu Xia's mouth twitched and she said, Comrade Wang, you don't need to explain this to me. You are my wife's savior. I must explain it clearly to you. After a pause, Wang Liang said, do you know Wang Lei? Hearing Wang Liang say Wang Lei's name, Chu Xia knew that she might have been thinking too much just now, and her expression softened. We know her, She is my senior sister's aunt. We were lovers when we went to the countryside, and later we planned to get married. However, I didn't mind her taking my niece with her at that time, and my parents didn't agree either. They said that if Wang Lei and I were together, I would not be allowed to live at home. The hard life in the countryside was too scary, so I gave in and married my current wife. We haven't seen each other in these years, but I know that she has never been married, so when I see her, I feel very guilty. If it weren't for me, she wouldn't have been single. Recalling Wang Lei's expression, Chu Xia suddenly realized, no wonder the smile on Wang Lei's face was so far-fetched, wasn't it? It was uncomfortable to see her former lover without any precautions. She couldn't help but look at Wang Liang carefully. She didn't expect that this ordinary-looking man had such a past. However, seeing how deeply he loved his wife, it was obvious that the previous relationship was over. No, the only thing left in my heart is probably guilt. Do you look down on me? No. Chu Xia waved her hand and smiled at the worried Wang Liang, no wonder you couldn't defeat your wife that day. It turns out that's your personality. Wang Liang sighed, yes, I am a cowardly man who is easy to compromise. I know that I have brought this on myself. Don't say that. Realize it. From now on, stick to some things that should be insisted on, and compromise on some things that should be compromised. Everything will be fine. Really? This. Chu Xia smiled helplessly, I can't give you an exact answer, but as a human being, you should learn lessons and move forward, right? Yes, Dr. Xiaolin, I can see that you are extraordinary. Everything you said makes sense. If I had listened to you that day, my wife would not be like this now. Don't regret the past, just look forward, Chu Xia said while making a gesture to move forward. Wang Liang nodded repeatedly, yeah, Dr. Xiaolin, I listen to you and look forward. Chu Xia smiled and said, no, I don't have much experience. I'm just telling you my own opinion. How do you do it yourself? You still have to make your own decision. I know, Wang Liang nodded repeatedly, no matter what the result is, I will not blame Dr. Xiaolin. Just don't ignore us. I have a black line in early summer. I don't know what to say. We are not on the same frequency band. Conversation is really tiring. After Jingjia finished examining Wang's wife, he turned around and saw Chu Xia and Wang Liang coming in. He smiled and said, are you having surgery? Chu Xia nodded, yes, the operation went well. After greeting Wu Jingbo, she walked to Jingjia and said, is the situation okay? Uncle Wang was so happy that he was incoherent. It's not bad. Jingjia looked at Wang Liang, it's estimated that the patient will wake up in another 2 hours. As for whether her brain is damaged, we won't know until testing. A trace of disappointment flashed in Wang Liang's eyes, and he quickly thanked him, thank you for your hard work, Director Zheng. I'll come over to check her out in 2 hours. When you're fine, you can do some more massage for the patient, Jingjia said and walked out. Chu Xia waved to Wang Liang and followed him out. Brother, what's wrong? Like, she asked in a low voice. Jingjia turned to look at her, what do you hope? I certainly hope she makes a full recovery. It's a pity that your hope is impossible. Jingjia sighed slightly, left-sided hemiplegia is unavoidable. Fortunately, they are close to the hospital, and the time it takes to send them here is not too long. If the patient has perseverance, eventually full recovery is not impossible. That Wang Liang listens to you very much. Go back and persuade him to not lose confidence. Alas, this man is also very miserable. He doesn't even have a child. If the woman really can't recover, he will be very tired in the future. No children, Chu Xia was stunned, did he say it himself? Well, I was on duty last night and chatted with him for a while. He said that he and his wife had been childless for 3 years after being married, so the family urged them to go for a checkup, and it was finally determined that his wife could not get pregnant. His family teased him about divorce. He felt that he had already let down one woman and could not let down another, so he insisted on staying with his wife. In the end, his parents kicked him out of the house. Fortunately, his wife's mother-in-law's family extended a helping hand and gave them a house to live in. Now, they still live in her mother-in-law's house. However, his father-in-law and mother-in-law are gone. His wife has a younger brother. Because of that house, and their relationship was very tense. What he is most afraid of now is that after his wife is discharged from the hospital, the house is taken back by his wife's brother, and then they will really have to sleep on the street. He said that the house was not taken back before because his wife has a strong personality and can spare the trouble. Go ahead, his wife's brother doesn't dare to play rough tricks. Now, his wife has become like this, and there is no telling what the outcome will be. He is a good man, and he is thinking about this matter, and he is not willing to leave his wife and go back to see the situation. The woman he let down was Wang Jing's sister-in-law, whom he met just now. What a coincidence, Jing Zhe smiled and shook his head. What a coincidence. Originally I thought he was quite cowardly, but after hearing what you said, I thought he was pretty good too. Alas, it's such a mess that it's really hard to sort it out. By the way, do you think their house has been given to him by his wife's brother? Taken away? I can't say for sure, but when his father-in-law and mother-in-law passed away, he had given them the property rights of the house they lived in. If it was really occupied, he could still get the house back as long as he produced evidence. However, from now on this relative has probably become an enemy. Chu Xia returned to the office and told Wang Jing what she heard from Jing Zhe. Wang Jing, who was originally angry with Wang Liang, was silent for a long time after listening to Chu Xia's story, and sighed, "This is probably our fate. Well, my sister-in-law should be able to let it go after meeting him today. I hope my sister-in-law can still find a man she really likes. You can talk to your sister-in-law about this. She has to open up her heart first. No matter how good the fate is, if she is unwilling to accept it, it can't happen to her for no reason, right?" Wang Jing smiled and said, "Yes, you are young, you know a lot, and you know a lot." Song Xiao laughed, "Wang Jing, if you are still not convinced, Chu Xia can be our teacher in this regard. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. First marriage then love, Mr. Mayor please be kind. Author, Zhao Nuan. Chapter 491. One update arrived. Dong dong. As a result, he stood at the door and knocked on the door a few times, smiling apologetically at Song Xiao. "Director Song, I want to ask Lin Chuxia something." Song Xiao looked at Chu Xia with a smile. "We, Dr. Xiaolin, are really busy with business. Go ahead and don't miss the meal. Your mother-in-law told me not to eat cold rice. Lin Chuxia, don't forget that you are a married woman, so be careful about the impact. Is this the subtext, right?" Chu Xia responded with a black line, stood up and planned to walk out. It turned out that he was not stupid. He originally asked Chu Xia for help, but he didn't want to get dirty on him, so he stepped in and closed the office door. "Let's talk here." Now it was Song Xiao's turn to feel embarrassed. She wanted to say something to make up for it, but she became more and more anxious and couldn't find any words to say, so she looked at Wang Jing for help. Wang Jing had no choice but to bite the bullet and said, "As a result, do you want us to avoid it?" He was so embarrassed that his face turned red and he waved his hands repeatedly. "No, no, no, what I told Lin Chuxia was not something shameful." Chu Xia sat back in her chair speechlessly. She had finally seen what it means to not be able to chat. 1, 2, 3, all. Feeling that there was something wrong with what he said, Guangji stopped explaining and asked straight to the point, Lin Chuxia, I'm looking for you to ask about Li Xiru, do you know that? This momentum, if you don't know the truth, you really think she has done something to Li Xiru? Brother, are you trying to settle a score with me? Chuxia said that she was not happy anymore. No, 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 Guguo waved his hands anxiously. I'm just too anxious. I can't even speak. Forget it, I'd better explain it in detail. Didn't I say last time that after Xiru's mother's accident, my parents didn't agree with our marriage, but they weren't so absolute. However, they originally planned to go to the Li family to discuss marriage, but they didn't go. As for me, I also wanted both parties to calm down, so I explained it to Xiru and said that I would wait until my parents calmed down completely before going to her house. Xiru's behavior at the time was quite normal. She said she could understand my parents' feelings and didn't blame them. She also agreed to postpone the matter for a while, saying that if both parents were worried, we won't be happy even if we are forced to be together. I was injured a few days ago and was delayed from work. I didn't look for her after the injury healed. I went over after get off work the day before yesterday and found that the door of her house was locked, and only a deaf old woman in the neighbor's house was at home. After asking around, she just said that her son and daughter-in-law had gone to work. I'm thinking about this. I asked my mother to go over and take a look yesterday. It happened that the neighbor's uncle and aunt were at home. My mother went to inquire about it and said that Xiru's family had moved away the day before yesterday. As for where they would move to, they didn't know, but it looked like they were traveling far away, bringing a lot of big and small bags with them. My mother then went to find old colleagues she knew before. No one knew about their family's move, not even Dabeo and Cine. My mother was afraid something might happen, so she notified my father and I to inquire together, but the result was nothing. I didn't get any valuable information. When you passed by today, I suddenly thought that Xiru asked me when I was in the hospital, what would happen if I couldn't find her one day. I just thought she was joking and asked her to stop thinking. In the past, she would immediately stop talking about topics I didn't want to talk about, but that day, she insisted on me telling me why. I was thinking about work at the time, and I was a little impatient, so I said that if I couldn't find her, I would just call the police. What else can I do? Then she became silent. After that day, she never came to the hospital again. I remember that she once chatted with you. In early summer, when she chatted with you, did she reveal any thoughts? Yes. Chuxia opened the drawer and found a letter Li Xiru left with her and handed it to Guguo. Read it yourself. Guo took the letter and opened it with trembling hands. After reading only a few words, he asked Chuxia anxiously, when did she give you this letter? That's the day you asked her not to bring you food. It's been so long. Guguo frowned and stared at Chuxia. Why didn't you give me the letter earlier? Chuxia's face turned cold. Are you qualified to question me? Zhuliang blushed and stared at Chuxia. After a while, his momentum weakened. I'm sorry, I was just too anxious. I'm not targeting you, and of course I'm not qualified to target you. I. Seeing his painful look, Chuxia sighed. Why did I do this if I had known this? Think about your attitude towards her at that time. As long as you could give her a little confidence, their family would not do this. Yes. Guguo nodded mechanically. Blame me, I'm too selfish, I only think about my own feelings, and completely ignore the pain and suffering in her heart. But she went. Where is she? Chuxia, you know where she is, right? You tell me. I am going to find her. I am going to tell her that I will treat her well. I will never ignore her again. Chuxia spread her hands helplessly. I don't know where she went, but I suggest you sort out your feelings first and then decide what to do. This is responsible for you and her. My own feelings, Gu Guo looked at Chu Xia blankly, is there anything wrong with my own feelings? Without waiting for Chu Xia's answer, Wang Jing said first, I can see the result. You like Wu Jingbo and Li Ziru is your girlfriend. Girls have delicate minds. I believe she must have noticed it. Look, senior sister has noticed it. Does that mean how obvious it is for you? Chu Xia sighed again, senior brother Cheng, maybe you don't want to admit it now, but you must sort yourself out. You can't let guilt or pity go. If the other person is happy, you have to really love her to bring her happiness. Gu Guang stared at the letter blankly, reading it again and again. The last sentence wishing him happiness and wishing him a happy life with his beloved girl made his heart full of joy. Guilt. Obviously, his behavior prevented her from seeing his love for her, so she left quietly, just not wanting to embarrass him. Brother Kuazi, I will be your wife when you grow up. Brother Kuazi, you are not allowed to look at other girls, I am your wife. Brother Kuazi, remember to come back to me. Brother Kuazi, is it really you? Brother Kuazi, it's great to have you by my side. Brother Kuazi, I want to spend the rest of my life with you. Brother Kuazi. Childhood, boyhood, youth, Li Ziru at various stages rolled through his mind, and he felt that his heart was so suffocated that he could hardly breathe. Seeing him falling straight down, Chu Xia was so frightened that she hurriedly pulled him up. The moment her hand touched him, she gritted her teeth and fell to the ground first. Then, the result hit her hard, hiss, it hurts. Wang Jing hurriedly went to help Guo Guo get up, and the voices of Chu Xia and Song Xiao rang out at the same time, don't help. Chu Xia sucked in the air conditioning and said, senior sister, I'm not a fool. If I weren't afraid that something might happen to him because of something bad, would I need to make him a mat? Wang Jing clenched her claws and looked at the two people stacked together, not knowing what to do. Quickly go find Jingzhe, he is an expert in this field, Song Xiao said as he stepped forward, looked at the results, opened his eyelids, looked at the flesh pads underneath, and asked worriedly, Chu Xia, are you there, where do you feel the pain? It hurts everywhere. Chu Xia stared at her with a bitter face, and there were faint tears in her eyes, look at him, he is not fat, why is he so heavy? Teacher, if I am paralyzed, you have to heal me. You. Song Xiao sighed and glared at her, next time, remember to act according to your ability. Even if you couldn't hold him back just now, just a buffer is enough. Why do you have to put yourself underneath? Just think that I have a brain twitch, teacher, get me a piece of cloth to sit on, I have to lie down for a while. Song Xiao quickly took the small pillow she had used during her lunch break and placed it on Chu Xia's neck, and spread a piece of cloth for her so that she could lie down firmly. When Jingzhe came in, he saw that his sister Kinkin was lying on the ground with all kinds of props, and his eldest disciple was lying on the back of Sister Kinkin like a dead dog. Without saying anything else, he hurried forward to check the results, and then called 4 young nurses to come in and move the results to the trolley bed. Wang Jing and Song Xiao hurriedly stepped forward to help Chu Xia up. Song Xiao looked solemnly and tried various parts of Chu Xia. After finally confirming that no one was injured anywhere, she relaxed with a relaxed expression and pinched Chu Xia secretly with her hand. He. Smiling ingratiatingly at Song Xiao, Chu Xia looked at Jingzhe, brother, is senior brother Cheng okay? It needs to be checked to be sure. You, please don't engage in such dangerous actions in the future, Jingzhe glared at her and hurriedly chased her out. If he hadn't been worried about Chu Xia, he would have followed the nurses out just now. There was no one else in the office. Song Xiao closed the door and scolded with a fierce face, Lin Chuxia, if you do this again next time, I won't take you with you. Teacher, I was anxious at the time. I was afraid that he might have a heart attack or cerebral hemorrhage. Song Xiao interrupted her angrily, how can there be so many heart attacks and cerebral hemorrhages? Chu Xia shrank her neck and didn't dare to say anything. Song Xiao slowed down her tone, "Teacher, I know that you are kind-hearted, but when you do things, use your brain and protect yourself first so that you can save more others, right?" Yes, Chu Xia nodded solemnly, feeling warm in her heart. If she didn't really care for her, how could she train her like this? If it were someone else, I wish she would do this. The teacher will always take credit for the good things the students do. First marriage then love, Mr. Mayor please be kind. Author, Zhao Nuan. Chapter 492. The status is gradually recovering. The result was nothing serious. He was too stressed these days and didn't get a good rest. He fainted due to the anxiety. Jingzhe gave him an injection and he fell into a deep sleep. Chu Xia, who had been trained by Song Xiao, was taken over by Jingzhe and trained again. Chu Xia wanted to argue, but when she saw Jingzhe's face as dark as the bottom of a pot, she didn't dare to say anything. She also knew that what she did was a bit inappropriate. At that time, she was also dizzy with anxiety. Chu Xia, you really want to be a doctor, right? Jingzhe softened his tone. Yes, Chu Xia nodded affirmatively. If she didn't think so, why would she come to study medicine so seriously? She really wants to be a doctor that people admire. Jingzhe sighed, if you want to be a truly good doctor, you must harden your heart. Otherwise, sooner or later, you will have to pay the price for your actions. Chu Xia was startled by his solemn look. Brother, don't scare people. Who scared you? Jingzhe glared at her. If you go to the front like this, will you have to run in front of the injured soldier to block the bullet? Chu Xia smiled coquettishly. Those are two different things. Why are there two different things? Jingzhe snorted coldly. Promise me now, otherwise, I will tell Zhou Mikang and ask him to take you back. Brother, we can't do this, can we? Chu Xia looked at him in shock. I saved your apprentice. If you don't thank me, forget it. It's too merciless to file a lawsuit against me. Stop smiling. Jingzhe waved his hand helplessly. Forget it, you understand the truth yourself. Think about it when you have nothing to do. If you do it again, don't blame me for not saying hello to you. I know. Chu Xia smiled flatteringly. I will definitely not do this next time. In fact, I also know that if you fail to protect yourself, you will be irresponsible to the patient. I understand. After sizing her up a few times, Jingzhe waved his hand. I don't believe anything you say now. Let's see how you behave. Dong dong. Brother, someone is looking for you. Seeing Chu Xia's anxious look, Jingzhe said amusedly and angrily, do you think the savior has come? No. Chu Xia laughed twice and told the truth, a little bit. Jingzhe looked at her helplessly. Forget it, when you can't figure it out, it's useless what I say, just go and open the door. I figured it out, I really understand. Brother, please watch my actions. Chu Xia opened the door as she spoke. Wu Jingbo stood outside and pointed to the right. Someone is looking for you. They say it's your third aunt. My third aunt. Chu Xia looked over in confusion and saw Lu Lingmei looking over here and seeing her. He hurried over and said with a smile on his face, Chu Xia. I finally found you. Why are you looking for me? Chu Xia said coldly, thinking of the bottle of concentrated sulfuric acid that wanted to destroy her. If she can laugh, she's probably crazy. You kid, third aunt misses you. Chu Xia interrupted her, Mrs. Zhang, I don't dare to take it. The smile on Lu Lingmei's face faltered, and she enthusiastically stepped forward to hold her hand. You kid, why are you still so young? Well, just call me Aunt Lu, okay. Chu Xia rolled her eyes. Are you worthy? Lu Lingmei was choked to death. She suppressed the anger in her heart and said, it's just a title. You can call it whatever you want. Let's find a place to talk for a few words, okay? No, Chu Xia flatly refused, looking at her with a vigilant face. Who knows if you are hiding any harmful weapons? I don't have any friendship with you. What good things can you say to me? Do you think I'm stupid? Ah, I will go if you ask me to go. You. Lu Lingmei bit her lip and couldn't force out a smile anymore. Please tell Zhou Mikang that I am from the Zhang family. I will walk on my Sunshine Road, and the Zhou family will walk on the Zhou family's single plank bridge. I have no right to tell the Zhang family what to do. If he keeps messing with me, don't blame me for being unkind. Chu Xia grinned. You have the guts to go to Zhou Mikang to play tricks on me. Why are you trying to bully me? Do you think I'm easy to bully? She happened to see Lin Wenbin coming over, so she waved to him. Brother, someone is bullying me. Lin Wenbin came over and stared at Lu Lingmei with a cold face. Are you bullying my sister? Are you tired of living? Who are you? Lu Lingmei glanced at the faces of Chu Xia and Lin Wenbin, smiling contemptuously. Lin Chuxia, you are a married woman who hangs out with young men all day long. You are not afraid of Zhou Mixang interrupting you. Leg. You are so dirty that others think you are so dirty. Do you think all women in the world are as shameless as you? Chu Xia rolled her eyes at her. This is my cousin, my cousin. I understand what a cousin is bar. Anyway, she and Lu Lingmei had already broken up with each other, and Chu Xia didn't give her any face at all. When you marry into the Zhou family, you bring a bunch of poor relatives here to enjoy the happiness. How dare you, a moron like you, to criticize others? Lu Lingmei snorted coldly. Don't blame me for not advising you. If you do this, there will always be something wrong. One day you will be kicked out of the Zhou family. Do the Zhou family really care about you? To put it bluntly, they just treat you as a machine to give birth to children. When you give birth to a child, see what they do to you. It seems you have itchy skin. After finishing his words, Lin Wenbin stepped forward and slapped Lu Lingmei on the face. Before the other party could recover, he slapped her again. You also hit women, are you humming men? Lu Lingmei howled and bumped into Lin Wenbin. Lin Wenbin dodged her and snorted coldly, I'm not that particular. How dare you bully my family? I don't care about you, whether you are a man or a woman, I will do whatever you want. If you are sensible, just be more honest with me. If it really gets too much trouble, you can make a lot of money. I'm not named Lin. Lin Chuxia, are you going to let your family ruin the reputation of the Zhou family like this? Lu Lingmei didn't dare to offend Lin Wenbin, so she angered Chuxia. If you let him make such a fuss again, the Zhou family will definitely not want you. I have been in the Zhou family for more than 20 years. I know the Zhou family better than you do. They value face and reputation more than anything else. If they knew that your relatives were so bullying, they would definitely not let you stay in the Zhou family again. You are wrong. I don't need to rely on anyone else's power. I rely on my own power. By the way, don't you know who I am? Lin Wenbin glanced at her sideways and whispered in her ear. Have you heard of the Lin family in Beijing? You. Lu Ling's beautiful lips trembled as she looked at Chu Xia. Aren't you from the rural area of Ludong? When did you get involved with the Lin family in the capital? Sorry, I forgot to report to you. Chu Xia grinned at her. My family is from the rural areas of Ludong. Yes, but who stipulates that people from the rural areas of Ludong cannot be from the Lin family in the capital? Then why didn't you say it before? Are you in charge? Lu Lingmei. Why didn't she realize that this girl had such a poor mouth before? Mind your own business first. Chu Xia curled her lips at her. If Zhou Mikang knew that you came to me to act wild, what do you think he would do? Lu Lingmei suddenly turned pale. Why didn't she suppress her anger? She came here to apologize to this girl. Why did it end up like this? Thinking of Zhang Tianbei's expression when he proposed to separate for a while, she felt so regretful that her intestines turned green. If she really left the Zhang family, where would she find such a good marriage? After being married to Zhou Shanping for so many years, although Zhou Shanping allowed her to do everything, she had never looked down on Zhou Shanping's character, and her life was boring. Later, the relationship with Xiaobing broke through. She just wanted to make her life more comfortable, but she didn't expect that Xiaobing's luck was so rubbish that she was in trouble in the blink of an eye. After the accident, she went to beg Zhou Shanping, but that honest man became stubborn. Even 10 cows could not be pulled back, she understood after hitting nails several times. She really can't go back to the Zhou family. Just when she thought her luck in life had run out, her life took a turn. It was the darkest time in her life. She didn't even have a place to stay. When she returned to her natal family all looked at her coldly. They always respected her and loved her older sister, her younger brother and younger sister, and called her younger brother and sister affectionately. Name, rolling eyes at each other. She is also a person with self-respect, especially since she was the one who brought her family members together. Now she is asked to see their cold faces. How can she bear it? Therefore, she would rather find a shabby little house with only one bed to hide herself in. Just when she thought she might be alone in her life, she met Zhang Tianbei. Even she herself didn't understand why Zhang Tianbei married her. Anyway, she became Zhang Tianbei's wife in a daze. Her life suddenly rose from hell to heaven, and her natal family came together again. Her younger brothers and sisters even knelt down and begged her for forgiveness. She liked that feeling, she liked it so much. Therefore, she did her best to serve Zhang Tianbei. However, Zhang Tianbei's daughter, son, and daughter-in-law all rejected her. Even the daughter-in-law who used to be an aunt was particularly affectionate with her. After she married into the Zhang family, she also treated her like the children of the Zhang family. She looked cold. As a couple halfway through, she had no right to do anything to Zhang Tianbei's children. The more she thought about it, the more unwilling she became, and she began to hate Lin Chuxia, the culprit who had led her to this point. If it weren't for that girl, she would probably still be living her own happy life. She didn't think it would be good to be with Zhou Shanping at first, but now that she has experienced so much, she understands that the originally boring life is actually the best. Her husband listens to her. Yes, her children didn't target her, unlike now, when she couldn't figure out the real reason why her husband married her, and she had to look at the faces of her stepson and stepdaughter every day. At that time, she went to see Ying and found that the Xiao family's situation was already stretched. Lu Sui had to take care of her parents-in-law and Ying and had to suffer the cold looks of others. She was on the verge of collapse, so she proposed to take Ying away. The son was sent to Zhou's house. Lu Sui was unwilling. Ying had been raised in the Xiao family, but Lu Sui was reluctant to let go. It was her strong persuasion that made Lu Sui determined to send Ying back to the Zhou family. And she lobbied Lu Sui so much because she wanted to use Ying hand to take revenge on Lin Chuxia. In her opinion, Lin Chuxia was a rural child with no background. If she was really tricked, I believe the Zhou family would not want such a disfigured woman, and she could indirectly avenge her daughter. She believed that the Zhou family would never mess with her for such a woman. She was already Zhang Tianbei's wife, and it was obvious who was more important than Lin Chuxia. In her opinion, it was a sure thing to make Lin Chuxia suffer. Ying's little heart was filled with hatred for her, and who would be wary of a child who was only a few years old? Even if she couldn't ruin Lin Chuxia's face and leave a bunch of scars on her body, men were all lustful, so she didn't believe that Zhou Mixang would be attached to a woman whose body was ruined. However, it seemed to her that everything was omitted, but she didn't expect that it didn't hurt Chuxia at all. At this moment, she didn't understand whether Lin Chuxia was lucky or someone from the Zhou family discovered it. Signs. However, Zhou Mikang came to find her, and Zhang Tianbei also made it clear that he wanted to separate from her. It was very likely that her hands and feet were discovered. If she had known this would be the result, she would never have taken this risky move. Even if she was not willing to let Lin Chuxia live a good life in the Zhou family, which one was more important than living a good life herself? As her mind whirled, a flattering smile appeared on her face. Chuxia, third aunt is wrong. Third aunt has never understood this at such an old age. Xiaomi went to train third aunt. Third aunt really thinks it's right, I can't help you. At that time, third aunt didn't know how to get it, so she was obsessed with it. Don't be angry with third aunt, and beg Xiaomi for mercy. Third aunt promises you that she will never do anything wrong to you again, okay? Good. What did she originally want to do? Lin Wenbin looked at Chuxia and asked. Pour concentrated sulfuric acid on me. Chuxia ignored Lu Lingmei's pleading eyes and told the truth. This kind of woman is like a snake in the farmer's arms. If you pity her, she will bite you if you turn around. My hands are so itchy. Lin Wenbin raised his fist at Lu Lingmei. If you want to try making sandbags, you can continue to stay here and talk nonsense. Without hesitation, Lu Lingmei turned around and ran out. From her behavior just now, she knew that this man was definitely an activist. She didn't want to be beaten half to death without solving any problem. Jingzhe put his arm around Lin Wenbin's shoulders and patted him. Good buddy. TCH, Chuxia is my sister. If I don't protect her, who will protect her? Lin Wenbin smiled proudly. Now it will be a competition to see who can kiss Chuxia, right? He was laughing at Jingzhe for not daring to do this like him. Jingzhe smiled bitterly and shook his head. You are really worried about the world being in chaos. Of course I want you to do the same thing. However, you have no name. Can your god brother and your biological brother be the same thing? Do you admit it now? Lin Wenbin hugged him and patted him. You may have a little inferiority complex compared to me, but based on your actions, you can be considered a qualified god brother. Jingzhe. He really didn't know how to respond to such a stinky character.